This is Saturday, July 25th. There are 360 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2021. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTWE, go.
Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple, it looks green.
Good afternoon. I'm your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in today.
And joining us for the first hour from Legion of Sand, Robert Warners.
Hey, everyone.
All right, so as you may know, this is a very special podcast. We're going to be live for the next 3 hours or so for our SDCC online special event. We're going to have some special guests, some rotating co-hosts, special giveaways. I think we might not. Maybe we'll just send you to the scavenger hunt. We'll take comments and questions during the show. You can tweet us at SD_comic_con. Use the hashtag SDConCast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. Okay, first up, let's talk about what our goals are for doing this SDCC online special event. Why are we doing this, Carrie?
Okay. Full transparency, as much as we love you guys, and we do, we absolutely are excited to be hanging out with all of you and giving you a small part of Comic-Con today. The main reason we are here today is to support the artists and the vendors. As we have said many, many times, the artists and small businesses are the ones who are most impacted by there not being a Comic-Con this year. We strongly encourage you to go and shop with them this weekend. You can go to our site. The very first post that's pinned to the top is a huge resource that lists social media, websites, web stores for everyone who would have been exhibiting at the convention. You can go and shop with them and buy yourself some awesome stuff. Please do.
Please. So that's basically why we're doing this. The special guests are here to entice you to listen so we can tell you to go buy stuff from artists and vendors.
And can I do a little thing real quick? Because Patrick just sent me this. Okay.
I mean, you're the boss, so I think so.
Speaking of our amazing artists, artist Patrick Ballesteros is going to be on later, but let me share my screen. Oh, I can't. James, let me forward this to you, and you can share your screen.
No, I made it to where you could.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Great. All right. Ready? Patrick made this.
Nice.
And it's all of our guests.
Wow.
So how fun is that?
That's so cool.
And this is why you should support amazing artists.
That's sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Now, how do I end this share? Stop share. There we go.
All right. Okay, so joining us after Robert for the second hour will be Aaron Tapkin. And then in the third hour, our co-host will be Andy Wagner. And this morning, we launched the SDCC Online Scavenger Hunt. And we had our first place winner, I guess let's call it, who was the fastest in about 30 minutes, right?
Yeah, it was under that. I think it was about 25 minutes. So the way that this works is, yes, our grand prize of $100 Amazon gift card is gone, and that was to the fastest person. But for everybody else, you can keep playing all day long because we have a whole bunch of Factory Entertainment's exclusives for the year. You can win a $100 gift card to the BBC's online shop, or win your choice of a prize pack from Toddland. All of those prizes we will be giving away randomly to those who successfully complete correctly the scavenger hunt. So as long as you have finished it by the time that I wake up tomorrow morning, you are entered to win.
Those are some great prizes.
They are some great prizes. I'm really excited.
All right, so we also wanted to talk a bit about what's happening right now, which is Comic-Con Online, Comic-Con at Home. And the massive amount of panels that Comic-Con pulled together for this weekend. I mean, there's almost half the number of panels they would normally have at a physical con, and there have been a bunch of cool panels, and there are a bunch more to come. So Congrats to Comic-Con for pulling that all together and for giving us an opportunity to have, Comic-Con at home. It's essentially what we're doing is we're having Comic-Con at home because of that.
It's amazing. I've watched a bunch of the panels actually this weekend, and I love that we can keep watching them after this crazy weekend is over. And we've had a whole bunch of questions about the panels. Anyone can watch them. They're completely open. Just they're all up on CCI's site, or you can just go to YouTube and basically just search for Comic-Con International or SDCC, and you will probably find them.
Yeah. And if you're wondering why there's two links, one says watch when available and the other is just the YouTube link. The YouTube link will take you to it and you can just watch it when you want. The watch when available basically means you can watch live as it happens when they air it during the allotted time frame on the schedule. That's the only difference. As we mentioned, we're going to be taking reader questions. So if you have any, just post them up in the live chat or tweet us and we will check them out. At this point, we are going to just talk amongst ourselves and talk about Comic-Con for a few minutes until our first guest shows up, which will hopefully be in about 9 minutes.
Do we want to go over the actual schedule real quick of who is coming on today?
Sure, let's go over the schedule.
Okay, so up first at 12, and all these times are Pacific time, at 12 o'clock is going to be Zach Levi, who you all should definitely know who that is from Shazam and Chuck, but he also ran Nerd HQ for years, which is, for myself at least, the best offsite that was ever at Comic-Con. At 12:20, Yvette Nicole Brown will be joining us from Community Talking Dead, and she's also just one of the best moderators at Comic-Con. Artist Patrick Ballesteros, who did that adorable little animation we just saw, will be coming on at 12:40. Brittany Curran from The Magicians, who is a lovely human, will be on at 1 o'clock to talk about that show, supporting the arts, all kinds of stuff. Victoria Ying will be on at 1:20. She is an author and illustrator, and she's going to talk about her new book. Adam McArthur, who is a voice actor from Star vs. the Forces of Evil, will be on at 1:40. Our friends at Factory Entertainment will be on at 2 o'clock to talk about their exclusives this year. At 2:20 is Darin DePaul, who is a voice actor from Overwatch, Shazam, Apex Legends, I think is the name of it, and so much more. At 2:40 is Toddland, who make the awesome Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, and American Dad exclusives every year for Comic-Con, and they will be live in San Diego.
Yes. So our WonderCon online special went well, so we decided we'd attempt it again, and hopefully it will go just as well. Cross your fingers. And let's talk about some of the other things that we've had going on during Comic-Con at home. There's been a bunch of independent cons, let's call them, basically offsites. A lot of places are running their own little thing, like Mondo has been running some panels. Adult Swim Con has been going each day, and they've had their own live panels. Basically, if you search out the Comic-Con at home, you're going to find a ton of stuff. A bunch of retailers and businesses have been posting up exclusives. Mondo has been doing them each day. Mattel had some up. Yesterday's pins, they have some exclusives, including they just re-released a version of the I Miss SDCC pin, which is just the heart with the convention center art. And that is up as of 9 a.m. this morning. And you can get that until tomorrow night. Same thing with Toddland. All of his are timed. So you can basically go to the Toddland site at any point before Sunday night and buy any of the American Dad, Bob's Burgers, or Family Guy stuff that they have up, all exclusives. Basically, this is just a ton of stuff that you can enjoy from home while we're all basically forced to stay at home. So it's been really cool. IGN's doing some stuff. I think they're actually broadcasting a lot of the Comic-Con panels that they're just like a secondary broadcasting area.
They are, but they're also doing like live interviews, and then they're also doing commentaries. They're actually doing some different stuff. But yes, they are also doing they're broadcasting some of the panels.
One of the questions Maya Long asked is, what prize do you get for completing the AHS game questions? The FX thing has a bunch of different things that you can do. Is there a prize for doing those, or is it just like getting points?
You get like a little digital badge. I mean, you don't get anything physical if that's what you're hoping. As far as I'm aware, I think Nickelodeon and Amazon are the only ones doing physical giveaways of the networks. Well, and I mean, we've had a couple panel ones like that, New Mutants, but
yeah. Nickelodeon's giving away a SpongeBob patch, I think 800 a day each day of Comic-Con.
Yep, today's is already gone, but there should be more tomorrow. So just check that link in the morning. It's the same link every day.
And Amazon randomly opens for the boys merch. You can get a tote or a shirt. It's been kind of tough to get a few times, but today it opened up and it seemed like it was pretty easy to do. I went through it finally today and it didn't seem to have any issues. Sideshow has been doing con live streams all week, and they've been doing discount codes for some of their products and a few special releases. So there's just been a ton of stuff for what would have been Comic-Con, and it's been really cool. It has been. It's been honestly really cool.
I am thoroughly impressed with what all they've done. This is like exceeded all of my expectations. So I think they should be really proud of what they've done. Absolutely. And it's been, I mean, I know that this year is weird, but it's been so fun just to have like a small dose of Comic-Con, like a small dose of normality for us at least. Yeah. So it's been really nice.
Yeah, it's been really weird, being at work this week. It's like normally I would be not at work this week, and it's like I took one day off, and it's all been completely, a random different assortment of things, but it still feels like Comic-Con for what we've seen and what, purchasing. I mean, I've bought some things this year where normally I don't buy so much at the con itself. I mean, I buy a little bit here and there, but I've been looking for more things because I've had time to look for more things. When you can just scroll through the internet and check out some websites, you have plenty of time instead of running from one panel to the next.
Sorry, James. I was going to say one of the coolest parts about, you just mentioned panels is like, you don't have to pick and choose which ones you want to attend and which ones you want to miss.
Yeah. Right?
So being able to watch, whichever ones that you want without missing anything has been great.
We have a question from Ray Estrada. Since there's no Comic-Con, did you order anything special, or what was your Comic-Con meal this year? For me, it was pizza, which would probably have been my Thursday night meal anyway. We would have just have pizza delivered into the room and had it that night, and we just did it again, basically.
Yeah, pizza for me too.
Yeah, it's an easy one.
Yeah.
What have you guys bought this week?
I bought, it was actually up early, I think last week from Acme. I bought the Ahsoka Tano print from Acme Archives. Nice. And I am still debating, since it's up until tomorrow, the Martin Anson Star Wars print from Mondo.
It's gorgeous.
And what else did I buy? I'm trying to think. Oh, I bought some Yesterday's pins.
Yep.
Managed to get through on a couple of those.
I put in 5 orders with Yesterday's this weekend. Their $5 pen sale killed me.
All right,
that's okay.
We have a guest. Let's go ahead and bring them on. We have Wildwood Studios.
What? What's up, everybody?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Great.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm going to let Carrie start kicking things off here.
So first off, Zach, thank you so much for joining us. As I think you know, we all loved Nerd HQ, and we still love Nerd HQ. So we're so excited to have you on today, and especially because Nerd HQ finally got its 503c verification.
That's right. Yeah, we did. We after long last, and I was trying to be as litigious and all that as possible, because you don't want to screw around with the government or your 501c3 changeover, and because we were a for-profit company and then going into it. So I just wanted to make sure it was all the T's are crossed and all the I's were dotted, and that finally all went through. And I, now of course that happened in the middle of COVID. So there's still some hurdles in order to get us back up and off and running. But I've got my good buddy Eric Artell, who was kind of like my pre-gamer for the hosting stuff. He would go in and get everybody hyped up and do all the house rules and stuff. I'm sure you remember him. He's now doing some D&D live streams with him and his D&D group on our YouTube channel. Just kind of starting to get a little bit of movement and a little bit of life going, and bringing all of our videos back up and online and sharing those with everybody again. And eventually I would love to, have the event be resuscitated and alive. I unfortunately don't think it'll ever be in San Diego again, which I've stated online. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll get into all of the details on why that is. I think you probably already know why a lot of that is.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful for the time that we had in San Diego. I'm so grateful for you folks. I'm so grateful. That's why I wanted to be, when you asked if I would do the show today, I really wanted to just be able to come on to say, if nothing else, thank you. Thank you for always believing in us and for the very nice things you always wrote about us, and that love and seeing it clearly. A lot of people, I think, unfortunately, had a lot of weird bias, and they were unwilling to see the forest for the trees, and they didn't like that we were there because we were, they didn't like that we were there and that we were doing well. And that's unfortunate. And other people who also tried to then even pinch the idea. I mean, once we came out with Nerd HQ that first year, seemingly it was then being emulated by a whole bunch of other people, which again, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, or whatever they say. Yeah. And as long as people were being served and loved, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. I just was always trying to create a safe, awesome space to recharge your soul and your phone batteries occasionally, and have some really good fun for good cause, and start breaking down weird barriers that exist between fans and talent, while still maintaining healthy ones. And, I feel like we did that. I feel like we did that quite well. And I hope we can continue to do that for years to come. And wherever we do it, I hope you guys can go and experience it there.
Well, I mean, I'm somewhat speaking for all attendees, but I mean, again, Nerd HQ is like one of the most beloved things that's ever been at Comic-Con. Like, we still to this day get people asking us about it. I'm sure you guys do as well.
Hey, yeah.
But let's take things back, because I actually feel like we haven't discussed this a whole lot. How did Nerd HQ actually originally get started? Like, what was the initial idea behind it?
Yeah, what was the impetus? Yeah, so essentially, I mean, even though I was a super nerdy kid growing up, I was never into cosplay or collectibles. I was into the content, but I wasn't really into cosplay or collectibles. So I never really had a big driving factor to get me to go to conventions. And then, of course, I'd always heard about San Diego Comic-Con, and, because it was always, not always, but like as movies, it became kind of, dubbed the Hollywood convention. And so you started seeing a lot of those things kind of popping up. And then I started working in Hollywood. And then, of course, I started doing Chuck. And I mean, really, I think we were kind of one of the first, in 2007, we were one of the first shows that I can point to that wasn't exclusively or very specifically either sci-fi, fantasy genre, very, very clearly a Comic-Con type of show, right? And that was kind of the beginning of it becoming less of a Comic-Con and more of a pop culture con, if you will. And much of the chagrin of a lot of the con goers, some people were stoked about it, other people weren't, and I can understand both sides of that. But I was stoked that I finally got to go to San Diego Comic-Con as an invitee and to go, premiere our pilot episode in Ballroom 20, and it, we were packed house. I think much to do with Adam Baldwin and his Firefly following, And thank God for that, because it packed the house and everybody loved the pilot, standing ovation. We had a great time. And of course, every year, of the show, we went back and we always had an amazing time with the fans and doing our panels there. But what came, I personally have always been a bit of an engineer, in that I look at things that I think I'm always breaking things down. Like, whether it's a cup or a couch or a hat or an experience or a movie or whatever it is, a building even, I'm always like breaking it down in my head going, why does this work the way that it works? And if it doesn't work properly, why isn't it working properly? And after having gone down to San Diego Comic-Con a few times in a few years, it became very clear to me that there were a few things that I felt like were missing, and things that could be better. Moreover, I saw an opportunity to create a kind of lifestyle brand for nerd culture that I didn't think existed, which was a more kind of generic nerd branding that was encompassing and inclusive of all fandoms. Whereas like before, it was like, well, you're a Lord of the Rings fandom, or you're a Star Trek fandom, or you're a Star Wars fandom, or whatever that was. And there was a kind of like, there's all this, even now, I mean, there can be these little wars and battles and things. And I was like, hey, let's create a brand that's all encompassing and brings everybody together. So no matter what you're wearing, it doesn't matter what you're a fan of, you can just say, hey, I'm a nerd and I'm proud of it. And that's where the Nerd Machine came around. And so I started the Nerd Machine first, and then in an attempt to kind of promote the Nerd Machine as a brand, but also in an attempt to kind of, I don't know, do some things that I thought could be done better as far as the convention is concerned, I started Nerd HQ. And that was, I mean, literally Dave Coleman, my former partner in Nerd Machine. I mean, I went to him, Comic-Con was coming up. It was like, I don't know, it was like probably 4 months away. And we had gone to San Diego Comic-Con foolishly and asked, hey, is there any more room? Can we get like a booth on the floor? And they were like, haha, yeah, those rent out like 5 years in advance. So we appreciate you wanting to have a stall, but your best bet is to go do an offsite location thing. I was like, cool, rock and roll. The irony is that they told us to go do that. And then anyway, but I don't think they realized just how much I like to go and manifest, and how big a dreamer and a vision and how big visions I have. And so at any rate, then I started thinking about, okay, offsite activations. And I thought, okay, well, certainly what I can do is we can get a site, we can get like a bar or something. I can set up a table. I'll tweet out to my followers, hey, I'm doing signings and photos, and we'll get the foot traffic through there. And then we can sell merch to folks and tell them about Nerd Machine. And so I said to Dave, we'll do one day and one night. We'll have a party that night. He's like, cool. And then the next day, I thought about it and prayed about it. And then the next day I come to him and I go, hey, listen, I think one day and one night that's not enough. So I'm going to call a few other friends and we'll set up some tables for them. And then we'll get foot traffic for 2 days and 2 nights. And he's like, that's going to be twice as expensive. I was like, yeah, I got it. But I think it's worth it. And then another day or a couple days go by and I go, listen, Dave, we got to go big or go home. So we're just going to do the whole weekend. We're going to do 4 days and 3 nights. And his eyes get real big and his jaw drops. He's like, Zach, you realize what that entails? I go, yeah, but I mean, I think that's the way we got to do it. And it's my money. And so let's get crazy. And so we found Jolton Joe's. That was our first location. Yep. And, oh man, still so many great memories from that location. And we brought on a great event planner in Jeff Respress, who had already worked with me the year prior for my birthday party. And I went and called up every single one of my friends or acquaintances. I mean, Nathan Fillion and I were acquaintances really at that point. I didn't even know him that well. The idea behind Nerd HQ was I was trying to make it the clubhouse for a bunch of different brands. I wanted Felicia Day and Geek and Sundry to call Nerd HQ their home. I wanted Nerdist and Chris Hardwick to call Nerd HQ their home, but they didn't. Chris and Felicia didn't feel like they really wanted to go and join forces on Nerd HQ. And I was like, okay, well, I can go and do this myself. Then the irony, of course, is after the first year, both Felicia and Chris wanted to do their own thing similar. But again, to each their own, that's their path. That's what they wanted to do. But I really was trying to build it to be a Voltron. So I could get all of my top the top kind of minds and hearts and faces within geekdom and nerddom to come together. And so we could have a collective power, our own little nerdy co-op, if you will. And we could all do our podcasts out of that and interviews out of it and whatever. And so ultimately I was the only, or Nerd Machine was the only business entity working out of it. But I was still able to go and get people like Felicia to come and do a panel, and Nathan and the cast of Firefly. And, you know, before people were doing these like, kind of legacy panels, I was like, nobody was doing legacy panels seemingly. And I was like, why isn't, they have all these rabid fans for Firefly. And then of course the very next year, San Diego Comic-Con did a Firefly legacy panel or whatever. Again, everybody's doing what they're doing, but I feel like we definitely tapped into something. Obviously we sold out every panel. Basically everyone had such a great time. The dance parties were epic. That I had no doubt about, because I know how to throw a wicked dance party, because I like dance parties. And so, yeah, and Xbox came on as our gaming partner that year with Gears of War. I mean, it all kind of worked out, and we thought, okay, I think we can, you know, we can do this again. And so we were able to, you know, cobble that thing together for 6 years in a row. And then the 7th year was kind of that weird hybrid year with Sci-Fi when I was hosting for them, which was a bummer because there's, well, again, in the expose one day, I'll write, all of the details will come out, but yeah, ultimately, you know, the impetus behind it was I wanted to create a better experience for talent and fans. That's all I ever really want to do. I want to create better content. I want to create better events. I want people to be seen and heard and valued and loved. I think that big business tends to not do that. They just see all of us as, you know, data. They don't see that there's a heart and a mind and a soul behind whatever that counted number is. And, you know, a lot of that comes down to like just empathy. Like, hey, if you're making people queue up in the hot blazing sun, why didn't you put some shade over their heads? You know, like eventually San Diego Comic-Con got around on that. Great. You know, even like the queuing up and sleeping overnight on concrete and whatever. Like, I don't know, like you can do things. There's got to be ways to make it better for people. There's got to be ways to make it better for the talent. You know, I mean, like I was always kind of bummed that I couldn't find a cocktail. Like I'm doing what we do as talent. You're literally doing press all day long, and you're just getting shuttled everywhere and pushed and pulled everywhere. I was like, can a brother just get a cocktail for a hot second? Can I just chill? And so I was like, that's got to be something I definitely want to provide to the talent coming in. I want them to feel like whatever they need, they're seen, they're taken care of, and also the intimacy and the proximity that we could give people in the panels. I had been to Hall H panels and seen them, and was always kind of like, I feel like this could be better in some way. I feel like the people in the very back of Hall H, they might have gotten into the Avengers panel, but they don't see anything. Your neck's craned up. You're looking at a big screen. The audio's delayed. You know, I don't know. I just kind of felt like, wouldn't it be better if we could make these a little more intimate and make them more special, and not have people queued up overnight, you know, and all that. I don't know. And do it for charity if you could, like we did. And I don't know. We just tried to think outside the box every single year. And every year we had to, because we kept getting hosed by the venues. Like, we do so well at a venue, and then all of a sudden they would jack up our price. We're like, what? We made this successful for you. Now you're going to like screw us. So then we had to go to another place. We had to go to another place. And then that was on top of a lot of the pressures that we were feeling from certain entities down in San Diego. And, you know, we had the fire marshal come by our event 20 times more than any other event in San Diego, because they were constantly looking for ways to nickel and dime us and shut us down because of the powers that be that didn't want us there. And it was really frustrating. And then even our sponsors and our talent were being leveraged on, and they were being told, if you go and work with Nerd HQ, you can't work with us. And then of course those publicists were like, we want, oh man, it was insanity. It was absolute insanity. So eventually that was one of the reasons I wanted to turn Nerd HQ into a 501c3, so that I couldn't get fucked with anymore. So at least if it was fully a charity, but then at that point, you know, it was already fakakshua and whatever. I don't know. It is what it is. But again, you got to persevere against that stuff. You can't just let bullies bully you. You got to, if you know that what you're doing is something that is bringing actual joy and light and love to people in the world, and I know that it did, and I know that that's what we set out to do, then you got to keep fighting for it. You know, I'm glad that you were able to experience it and enjoy it and saw that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did. We multiple times. It was an amazing place, no matter where you went. Well, of all the things you did over those 6-ish years, Does any one thing stick out that you're proudest of at the event or because of the event?
Oh man, so many things. Yeah, I mean, I'm particularly proud that we raised like over $2 million for Operation Smile just through, and by the way, through, you know, through almost microtransaction. You know, like I've always been a fan of trying to keep things as democratic and diplomatic as possible and making it affordable for anybody. You still had to be very fast on a keyboard in order to get one of 250 tickets per panel, which some people were very angry about, but I don't know what to do about that. But we made it very affordable, $20 a ticket to, you know, to be in a chair and to know it's yours and it's reserved for you, $20 to get a photo op, $20 to get a signature, knowing all that went to charity. You know, Nathan Fillion started the whole kind of live auction during the panels with his bag of shit. I loved it. Everybody loved it. I started doing it. Other people started doing it. So, you know, to get to just, I think that was certainly one of the things I'm most proud of is just how generous we were able to give people the opportunity to be so generous and for it to be so rewarding for their own lives. And that was amazing. I think that, you know, to be able to give fans full panels of fan questions and not moderated questions. I not that I hate moderators as people. I personally just always would do, you know, we do our Chuck panels or any panels every time they're moderated. I was like, there's like hundreds of if not thousands of fans that are sitting there with questions that are burning a hole in their pocket. Why don't we just talk to them? And, you know, not everybody feels comfortable doing that. I totally understand. I personally love the live wire effect of it. And we never once had anybody ask a question that was out of line or that I couldn't, you know, make a joke about and move on or whatever. So I was pretty proud of that. I was proud of both sides, of the fans being respectful and the talent being, you know, courageous and allowing the fans to have that space. Really proud of the dance parties. Really proud that they're still spoken about to this day. Really proud that I could, you know, sit on the sideline with a drink in my hand and just watch the fruit of our labor and see the cast of Game of Thrones and the cast of Avengers all like dancing together. I'm like, what is this magic? Like, you know, that was, and that was fun on the talent side, but then to be able to have the fan parties where we had so many people, like the line was around the block and we would get as many people in as possible. And like watching 1,000+ fans jumping up and down to Come On Eileen in the middle of a dance floor. Like it's like, it's all of my dreams coming true. So really proud of all that. And then of course, just like, I don't know, random moments of fans getting to have an interaction with somebody that they genuinely love and support and have for years, and that person genuinely seeing them. And I think to be able to provide that space just means the world, you know, and knowing how much it meant, again, to not just the fans, but also to all of the talent, to all of the people that would come through and do panels, and they would feel like they were taken care of. They would feel like they weren't just being used. And Chadwick Boseman, before Black Panther even came out, I didn't even know him. I knew his publicist. And she worked out
Did you freeze, Zach? I think you froze. Oh.
It's like we were gonna.
Oh no.
Is he gone? Is he gonna come back?
Oh no. And he's dropped off.
Oh no.
Well, if he pops back on, we will thank him for coming by. That was a great talk though. We love Zach. We love Nerd HQ. Wherever it winds up, I will be there. Yeah. I'm still rooting for Austin because that's closer to me. But yeah, do it in Austin, Zach.
Well, let's. I see that Yvette has joined. So you want to get started? Bring Yvette on and.
Yeah. If he pops back on, we'll say bye for a second. But let's bring Yvette Nicole Brown on.
All right. There she is. Yvette, are you there?
Here. I'm here. Hold on.
Hey there.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
We're
good. How are you?
I'm good. That was a marathon conversation with Mr. Zach Levi. I was like double dutch trying to jump in. I'm like, get in there, Zach.
Yeah, he was going off.
He was. Listen, he had some things to say. You
Yes,
know, I
he
don't know.
did.
I came in a little late, so I don't know if I missed, but we shared a publicist for a while, and Tage Herring was also really integral in making Nerd HQ what it was. So I wanted to make sure that I shouted her out, because that's how I found out about everything they were doing together. The three of them really worked really hard, and she would work the line for those epic parties. And Tage
Was it
outside.
Tej?
Yeah.
I know her. She's amazing.
She's amazing, and she was out there for hours, turning people away and sneaking people in. She was doing the whole gamut. So I wanted to give her some flowers today. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
Okay, yes. All right. Let's just dive right. So I was really excited to talk to you about this, but I was at Community's first panel at Comic-Con in 2010, which I think was your first time at Comic-Con. Am I right at that?
It was my first time at Comic-Con. It was like just a baptism by fire. I was like, what is happening? It was amazing.
I believe it. And the sheer joy and love in that room, like even after all these years of attending Comic-Con, I always think of that panel. But what was that whole year like from your perspective?
You know, it was a little bit, gosh, I can't explain it. It's like not being able to swim and being thrown into the deep end, but then a magical mermaid finds you under the water and helps you float. Is that Zach? Zach! He's back.
Hey, Zach.
Yvette Nicole Brown!
Zach Levi!
Did you just bump me?
I might have bumped you. Listen, I caught like the last 10 minutes of, man, I was like, get it in, Zach, get it in. You were getting it in.
I talk too much. I talk too much.
Good. There's no such thing as too much when it's a Comic-Con panel. What are you talking about?
I love you so much. I miss you so much. You look fantastic. How was your pandemic?
It's treating me okay. When can I see you with the mask on and gloves 6 feet apart?
Well, I'm not going to be in LA for a minute, but if you want to come out to Austin, you're always welcome.
I may, if I can drive there, I may make it.
You come.
But they wanted to say goodbye to you, so I'm gonna let them do their goodbyes and then I'll continue. Mine.
I love you.
I love you.
And thank you guys so much for having me on. Thank you for letting me relive and reminisce about Nerd HQ, and I hope we get to do again soon.
I kind of feel like you should finish that Chadwick Boseman story, though. You were really right.
Oh, no. I was just going to say with Chadwick, I didn't know him from Adam, but I was so grateful that he trusted his publicist, Nikki, to come and do it. And it was at the end of the day. He had a long day of press. And I could tell he was like, yo, what am I about to step into? I was like, I go, trust me, it's going to be cool. Just speak from your heart. All these fans out here, that you've done quite a few panels with us. And it was always just love. It was always just love. And the intimacy, it allowed you to get deep. It allowed you to get funny. You could kind of do whatever because they were right there. You didn't have to like project and be this big spectacle. It was a very intimate encounter with the fans and talent. So
I agree.
I'm really proud that we were able to provide that space for everybody. Anyway, that's all I was going to say.
Get out of here. Get out of here, Zach.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Hi,
you,
Zach.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
Zach.
for having me. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. And real quick, you can find the Nerd HQ panels now up on their new YouTube channel, and you can follow the Nerd Machine on Twitter at the Nerd Machine. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. What are you apologizing for? Let them know.
All right. So, yes, your first year at Comic-Con, what was that like?
Like I said, it was like you got thrown into the deep end, and then a magical mermaid just floated you up to the top and gave you food and made sure you were okay. I remember we were backstage, and I think they showed a clip, like a preview of season 2, and the crowd, just the wall of sound that we heard was so loud. And my greatest memory of that moment was Gillian crying. Gillian's a softie. I am too, but Gillian is like that kind of softie where like it's right there. It's right on the verge at all times. And she cried just from the joy of, because we had been in like our little cave making our show, and we had seen on Twitter that people liked it, but our ratings were, and we didn't really know that many people cared about us or even knew who we were. So it was a magical experience for us.
James?
So obviously now, after that first year, you've been coming, I think, almost every single year.
Yes.
Whether it be community or other things. But now you're known for being basically one of the best moderators at Comic-Con. What was your first panel that you moderated, and how did that come about?
I think the first panel I moderated was Once Upon a Time, which, I love that show so much. And I was a fan, stalker fan on Twitter, and Jane Espenson and I became friends. And I think she told Adam and Eddie about me. And I just got this message like, would you like to moderate a panel? And I was terrified, you guys, because first of all, I have a journalism degree, but I don't do that as a career. And I respect those that do. And so I had been on enough panels as a community actor to know how hard it is to moderate, how hard people work to moderate, how you have to manage the needs of the fans first, but then you also have to handle and make sure that the cast members and production members and creative people are okay. And then usually you got to talk about some product and you got to hit it all within that 40-minute window and you got to hit everything at the right time. It's a lot. And I was terrified, but I loved the show. And I was like, it's time to do something scary. Let me do something scary. And the other thing I knew is that I'd be doing it in front of fans like me. And so my thought was, I'm with my family. So it's okay. I know what they want to know. I know who they're excited about. I know what they're shipping. So I was actually in a really good place to kind of go in and, you know, just have the moment. And so yeah, Once Upon a Time was my first. And I think I did every panel of theirs until the show ended. And it was a wonderful joy every single time I got to do it.
Keeping with the moderator theme, how much time goes into prepping for a panel, and does having a panelist experience help with your moderator duties?
Oh God, for me, if you guys have seen me on Talking Dead, you know what a big nerd I am and how I over prepare. So I remember those first couple of years doing Once Upon a Time, I would do a full rewatch of the entire show. So if we were on season 3, I would watch all 3 episodes again, take notes for every episode, make sure I had at least 10 questions for every person, and then try, because I've been on panels, try to find questions that they weren't used to being asked, which is always hard because if you're on season 3 or 4 of a show, they've always asked, like, well, if you were a fairy tale character, if you were a Disney princess, like those are the questions that you get 5,000 times. And I didn't want to do that to them. I wanted them to come and be able to talk about things that they maybe hadn't talked about before. So I would end up using like a whole ream, like, I don't know if note cards or reams, but a whole package of the big pack of note cards I would fill with questions. And my goal was just for everybody to have a good time. So I would just about kill myself every single time. The only time later in moderating, one, I've realized that my love of the show or the movie will, or the people I'm talking to will always carry me over. And so if I come from the fan space, I know that whatever I ask is going to be okay because it's what a fan would ask, and Comic-Con is for the fans. So I relaxed a little more through the years, but I think the only time I've ever felt completely comfortable is when I did Walking Dead panels. And that's because, one, everybody knows I love the show so much and I know everything about it. But beyond that, Brandon Monk, who produces Talking Dead, also produces those panels. And when I tell you, you are not in safer hands than Brandon Monk. So you can kind of go, okay, Brandon's got me. Where I'm lacking, he will fill in. So yeah, so those are the ones that I kind of breathe. But everyone else, I was white knuckling it through the whole thing.
That sounds like a lot of work. And then having the multiple questions thing is something that we try and do as well. Yeah. Obviously, we didn't need questions for Zach.
I wouldn't tell him you said it. Oh, I'm gonna text him as soon as we're off of here. Zach just went, he just took the show.
So at Comic-Con, moderating, being on panels, it's a jam-packed schedule for actors when they go on, as you guys mentioned, doing press and things like that. What does actually a typical day look like when you're attending Comic-Con as a panelist?
Oh my goodness, as a panelist, oh gosh. It starts early for the ladies, and some of the men, we get our makeup done first early in the morning. Then it's like a marathon. So you're doing everything from, every magazine has its own outlet there. Every magazine, every television show. So you might go to TV Line and talk to Michael Osceola, or you might go to EW, or you go to, they used to have, some of them had yachts, and you would go to the TV Guide yacht. But when I tell you guys, the schedule was like from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. You were gunning. And the first year we went with Community, we had our panel, and then we had all of our press things going to different places. But then we also had a signing on the floor, which if I live to be 180, I will never be able to fully explain what that felt like, to walk through all the people and they knew who we were. And then to sit there and watch them cycle through as we signed, and getting to hear what the show meant to them, or who their favorite character was, or what their favorite line was, and taking pictures. Like, that part to me was the most amazing thing, because it was the closest we got to get to the fans the entire weekend. But again, it's running and gunning. It's the only time you had off, like Zach just mentioned about, can I just get a beverage? You may have like 15 minutes between the next thing you have to do. So that means if they don't have something backstage for you to drink or eat, you're not eating or drinking that entire day. Now, thankfully, Sony was great to us. NBC was great to us. So they would like run up and throw a burrito in your hand or give us a moment to stop and grab a salad or whatever we needed. But from the time you got there to the time you went back to your hotel that night, you were running and gunning. And then if you're a fan as well, you're trying to sneak a little time to get on that floor and buy a comic. Or, me, I collect Yoda and I collect Kermit the Frog. So I wanted to get up in there and get some Star Wars stuff and have my experience too. So it was a packed but fun day.
Yvette, do you have any Comic-Con traditions?
Ooh, I mean, aside from making sure that I leave with a new Yoda every time I go, my house is a museum at this point. I really wish that I could say that every year I walk the floor. I've only been able, out of the, I think 8 or 9 years I've been going to Comic-Con, I've only been able to walk the floor once. And that is because I always fail to plan. I need to have a costume, and I'm not trying to act like, well, I'm so famous, I couldn't possibly, but I like people. And if somebody stops me and wants to talk, I'm gonna stop and talk. And then once I stop and talk to one, it's gonna be about 5 or 6 that'll come. I'm not Tom Hanks, I'm not being mobbed, but it's enough people where you can't really get to where you're trying to go. And so I feel like it stops being fun for them. And then I don't get to go where I need to go either. So I just stopped going on the floor. But if I did some cosplaying and actually got a really good mask, I could probably get up in there and buy the stuff that I want to buy. So that is going to be my tradition the next time we're allowed to leave the house and I can actually go to another Comic-Con. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But aside from buying a Yoda and and some Muppet paraphernalia, that's about it every year.
I was actually in a panel once, and there was an actor who was like, what I suggest to the other actors is don't buy a good mask, buy a terrible one, because then no one will stop you for photos of your cosplay. So like, go buy like a $1 mask and wear that.
That's what you have to do. But then the other thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you're not wearing the same clothes you wore on the panel. That was a rookie mistake I made the one time. It's like, they still know it's you, fool. So it was, I didn't think it through, but next time I go, I will think it through.
Yes.
A quick question about Yoda. How much Baby Yoda merchandise do you have now already?
Okay, let me say this. All I have of Baby Yoda, and I am not proud of this, but it's because of COVID. I only have a t-shirt that I got from Disney. I know that I saw Whoopi Goldberg has a life-size Baby Yoda. I need to reach out to her and find out where she got it. It might be Sideshow. I think so. There. Yeah. I haven't done the deep dive that I need to do because I like to go to Sideshow and like actually hold it and look at, I want to have the experience, and you can't really do that at home. And if I buy him and he's not what I need, it's gonna hurt my feelings. So I need to wait until I can actually get up in there and pick the one that I want. And is there one that's animatronic yet? Like, do they have one that?
Yes.
Okay, when we're done with this, can you email me the name and the link? Because that one I need. No, it's a need. So please,
we can make sure that happens.
Please make sure I know where to get it. I'll get it today.
I'm sure you're going to actually get some many replies on Twitter for people who know where it is. So
all the Baby Yoda gear, the good stuff. Let me know.
So a couple years ago at WonderCon, you were on a panel. I think it was for Super Mansion, and I was in the audience and I was taking photos. And you actually stopped for a second, saw me taking a picture, posed for me, waited for me to take the picture, and then made sure I gave you a thumbs up before you went on. And I just wanted to say, I thanked you on Twitter, but I wanted to thank you in person because that was probably one of my top 3 moments of taking pictures at Comic-Con. So
it's my pleasure. This is the thing, we can see like the first 3 rows, and this is no shade to anyone else, but like I said, I like people, and I also am a fan, and I want nice pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I take a picture, I want the person looking at me and smiling, and it doesn't take much to notice that someone has a camera up and give them the shot. Like, I love doing that, and I love when people do that for me. So it was truly my pleasure.
So I think I'm sharing it.
Is that it?
That's
it. That was WonderCon. I love that dress. Where is that dress? Got the same hair and everything. See what happens? See? And this is what people need to know. When you do that, they end up with a better picture of you that they can share on a Comic-Con panel 5 years later. You want that.
Exactly.
You'd rather them share a great picture of you than you looking crazy. So yeah, but it's truly, jokes aside, it was my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we have a question from Twitter. And this is from Disney Dad SD.
Hey, Disney.
What did you think of the Once Upon a Time series finale? And he also wanted to say he misses you moderating those panels.
Oh, thank you. You know, I loved it. And this is the thing that it might unnerve people about me, but I actually allow and celebrate creators making their things. So I have dreams, like there's dreams that my heart, you know, wishes for. Like everybody knows, I ship Carol and Daryl on The Walking Dead. But if it never happens, I'm okay. So I'm not one of those people like, I mean, newsflash, and this might be shocking. I like the Lost finale. You know why? Because it was their finale that they wanted to tell. And I took the ride with all these characters, and I celebrate that we made it to the end, that we made it to the end together. And this is how they, who created the show, feel that it should end. So all that said, I love the Once Upon a Time finale. And it's really hard for me to find a finale that's not satisfying to me because I'm a completionist. I like making it to the finish line. And the same people that I trusted to take me on the ride for 5 seasons or 10 seasons, I trust them to end it the way they feel it should end, whether I get my ships or not, whether I get, you know, what I want or not, whether everyone survives or not. It's the story they want to tell, and I celebrate it.
So to shift gears a little bit,
Yes.
I actually wanted to talk about, you are incredibly prolific on Twitter, and we love the Young projects, but also to educate, inform, lift up causes and issues that you believe in. Can you just talk a little bit about your sort of Twitter philosophy and how you feel you can use your platform?
Yeah, first of all, I want everybody to know I tweet for myself. I post for myself on Instagram. So if you see something at 3 a.m. and I don't schedule. So if you see something at 3 a.m., I literally am up at 3 a.m. typing it or retweeting it. And I'm not proud of that. I probably need some help, but that is the truth. I believe that we are on this earth to make things better for other people. I don't believe that we are islands. I don't believe that it's all about you personally getting everything you need and good luck to everyone else. I believe that I am my brother and sister's keeper. I believe that we are supposed to support and love each other through life, not just the people you know, not just the people you're related to. We are supposed to be in this together. And we have found in the latest, darkest days we've been going through that we do better when we all link up arms together and fight against darkness. I have decided that I am going to be on the right side of history, no matter what the consequence is. So when this is all over, we have a wonderful president that loves people and wants people to be okay. And we have a government that makes sure people has health. Everybody has health care and a place to live and food to eat. And I don't have a job because I was very vocal. I am okay with that. But I would not be okay with making sure that I have what I need in this house, but someone in another house is doing without because I wanted to protect a paycheck. There ain't a paycheck big enough or great enough for me to ever do that. So I use my platform for good. Everybody don't like it. Everybody doesn't agree. But that is my space on online and in this planet to share what I think matters, to share what I think is important. And I'm going to continue to do that until the Lord calls me home. That's what we're supposed to do. I think everybody's supposed to do it, but I'm going to do it until everybody joins in.
We thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yvette, you just recently moderated the Bugs Bunny 80th anniversary panel for Comic-Con at Home. I watched it. It was great. Did you enjoy any other cartoons as a child?
Oh gosh, so many cartoons. I'm afraid to list them because I will show my age. But I did love, I'm a Flintstone girl. I loved Looney Tunes. I loved the Jetsons. I've totally just showed my entire age. Strawberry Shortcake was big when I was really little. There's so many. That it's a magical world, and we got to see things that made us laugh, and we got to sing along to the musical episodes. And there were always life lessons, like we're talking about using your platform for good. There's a lot of lessons in Looney Tunes. There's a lot of things that Bugs did that was the right thing, and he did it with a little sass and a little snark, but he got it done. And I think that that's something that we can model ourselves on. So yeah, I loved a lot of cartoons when I was growing up. I still watch a lot of cartoons now, but those were my favorites when I was a kid.
Yeah, cartoons are the best.
Yeah, they really are.
So to wrap up, what's one thing that just encapsulates what it means to you to be at Comic-Con?
Oh gosh, the one thing I would say is acceptance. Like what I get from Comic-Con every year I go is that everyone is allowed to let their freak flag fly. All of the weirdos and the misfits and the people that feel unappreciated and and misunderstood, we all are welcome there. It's kind of like what our community or model at Greendale Community College is. It's like you're already accepted. And that's literally what it feels like at Comic-Con. And that's the great sadness that we're not all there together, because I think this year more than any other, we need to have the warm hug of humanity and the understanding that whatever you like, whatever you enjoy, because I always say about nerds, and it's just loving something a lot. A nerd is just someone that's like, I love it so much. That's what nerddom is. And you can be a nerd about anything. I'm a nerd about politics right now. I'm a nerd about wanting what's best for this nation right now. And it's really okay. And at Comic-Con, it's always been okay. So I'd say acceptance. That's what makes me just smile when I think about going to San Diego every year.
That is a lovely message. And I think that is what we will end on. Yvette, where can people find you?
Well, right now at my house. No, you mean online?
Yes, I do mean online.
At YMB on Twitter, at Yvette Nicole Brown on Instagram. And I'm not on Facebook anymore because of what they did with the last election. But all of my Instagram posts always repopulate Facebook. So Yvette Nicole Brown on both of those.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciated it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
That we've got our next special guest, Patrick Ballesteros.
Hello, sorry. Let me start my video. Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. You?
Doing
Long time
well.
no talk.
I know. Well, in person, that is.
Yeah. Your animation was so cute, for the record. We did show that at the beginning of the episode, so hopefully you guys joined us to see that. So, yeah. And actually, Brittany Curran was in the chat, and she saw it and thought it was adorable. So there you go.
Yay. I'm glad you guys saw it. Cool.
All right, so let's just get into this. All right, so for anyone who doesn't know, Patrick, first of all, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I am almost 5'8". No, I'm just kidding. I've been at Artist Alley, I think, for 8 years now, and illustrator, concept artist, working in the industry. I didn't start doing actually Comic-Con as a vendor since 2012 was my first year, and then just slowly build, and I've just been fortunate enough to be there consecutive years, except for 1 year where I almost didn't get in, but I died in last minute. So yeah, I've just been kind of there, and I teach, do other things, draw a lot, make weird animations, do little fun things with my kid as much as I can, and yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Well, no offense to anyone else, because we do have plenty of other friends in our alley, but you are somewhat of the celebrity of Artist Alley with definitely the longest line. But let's talk about your sort of signature style is basically these kidified versions of pop culture characters.
Yes,
We've but I don't actually think we've ever really talked about the inception of that style. Can you talk a little bit about like how you developed that?
Sure. So it first started, I think, at a gallery show that my friend Alzar pushed me to do. He's like, hey, I have all these empty walls. Can you put stuff up? I'm like, sure. Okay, you got like about a month. Oh, okay. So I just hustled. And there was one piece from that show where there was a kid making espresso and just blew up in his face. And there's this little bear character. They're just looking at each other like, what the F just happened? And so from there, I'm like, oh, I kind of like drawing this little kid character. So let me kind of stay in that style with the lighting, mood, and stuff. And then after that, I think I did a Halloween piece where a bunch of kids are trick-or-treating in a long line. And they're just dressed up as like different characters in their own way. Like the kid dressed up as the Hulk was painting himself green. There was a girl Thor. I had Power Man and Iron Fist, little Wolverine. Half of it was actually the Avengers before the Avengers came out. So I was like, oh, wow, okay, cool. I kind of knew something. And then from that, I was like, oh, yeah, let me just start playing around more with that. And so the idea wasn't just making them kidified versions, but telling more of a story and incorporating things that I did as a kid or that I remember, or I see my friends with kids before I had a kid, what they were doing with their kids. And it just kind of developed into this, okay, what's the story time issue? What's the thing that I want to tell? And how do I want to put it together? And it just opened up this whole world of like, oh, wow, I could totally do this, and this. And it just kind of snowballed into all these different things that you see.
Nice. So, Patrick, a lot of vendors have scaled back their offerings this year for Comic Con, but it feels like you possibly had more than usual. What made you decide to go full steam ahead this year?
I had a bunch of stuff from WonderCon that I was going to debut there, and that was a wash. So I just said, you know what, I'm just going to save everything for San Diego. And actually, a lot of my stuff was in limbo because the ports were closed and stuff. So I had stuff coming in. So I was like, I have nothing to do with this. But I think the big thing that sold out this year was the big Hall H print.
Yes, which
And
was amazing.
thank you. And thank you for I emailed you about that. And I think that was the thing is I wanted to create something for people where it wasn't sad, but just like happiness, what you remember about Comic-Con. And I think that's what I want to do this year is just to create pieces that basically told people, you know, it's not gonna be there physically this year, but there's gonna be something that encompasses what Comic-Con is this year. And we're just gonna be more hyped when we do come back. And so that's why I wanted to create all of these pieces and just putting stuff out there because I wasn't sure if people were going to be biting or what was going to happen. I was just like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. I'll create it, put it out there, and let's see. And it's been actually really, really receptive. You know, people like like a lot of the different things that I'm doing. So it's been kind of a shock, but a very welcome shock. And it just kind of shows how strong this Comic-Con family is, which is awesome.
What do you think it is about that print that's resonated with so many people, especially this year?
I mean, of course, there's a lot of recognizable characters, but it took me a long time to conceive just the different sections, how to put it together, how to flow. And I think what it was is it just basically walks you through from start to finish your process of going through a con. And that's the main thing I wanted to do, from you're getting in to tapping the badge, to picking up your badge, to seeing friends, to seeing things. I mean, there's so many iconic things that I did leave out. But I put things in there that were in my line of sight from Artist Alley. Like I always would see like the Funky Town. I would always see this T-shirt building, and I always see like all these toy stuff as it veers off. And so I think a lot of people, a lot of fans of Comic-Con that buy from me, they see that same type of they're coming from that same view. And it's cool because I think they are actually appreciated as well when they see it. Like, oh yeah, I remember that. And of course, I had to put in the steps that they closed off because I remember just sitting there all the time, just like eating my lunch.
Yep.
And the sales pavilion. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And the sales pavilion where you used to pick up your badge and you just grab free stuff and be like, okay, let's hang out here for a little bit because there's AC, and then you go downstairs. So it's a little bit of what I remember from Comic-Con before I became a vendor, and then what Comic-Con is now for me in regards to like the mad dashes. And I jam-packed as many Easter eggs as I could into this. So it'll take you a while to find them, but there's a ton in there.
My favorite is still that you put yourself in with the line capped sign. Good job.
I had to. Well, that, and I wanted to give a shout out to at least some of the Filipino characters that are out there, some in comics, some from the Philippines, and of course, Rufio, Hook. Can't forget Rufio. So it's a must.
That's awesome. All right, you've done a lot of different series over the years. Your 25-cent wonders, obviously, but also your new quarantines, the now older ones like the punny sweaters. Do you have a favorite series that you've done?
Right now, I am, and it's weird, but I'm having a lot of fun with actually the quarantine stuff. And it's not because it's like, oh my God, I'm celebrating a pandemic. No, that's
Right.
ridiculous. It's just more that it's my therapy. And I put that in a post before. It's like art therapy for me. So when I'm drawing these things, it's like it gets my mind off of what's going on and just allows me still to create, go into my fandoms, but also take a little bit of that anxiety that's in me and just put it out there in a very healthy way that I could share with others. And so that they can kind of come in and get a little bit of that relief from my art. And I think those are some of the notes and some of the comments I've been getting is just that, this really just made my day. And when I get a note like that, it's the same thing as when I see someone in person, I see their reaction on their face and they, were able to give a hug and say, hey, yeah, I'm happy that I did that for you. So that's kind of what they're doing is just kind of like a virtual hug from me to people. And just like what Yvette was saying, I mean, she said a lot of good stuff, man. She's a tough act to follow. I was like, holy my gosh, it's like a motivational thing. Dang. But everything that Yvette said, I think I try to evoke in those pieces. And I think they take me a bit longer, but I'm putting a lot more into them just in regards to like thought and the feeling that I want people hopefully to get out of it, so that it just keeps carrying them over, you know, into the next day, into the next day. So yeah.
So speaking of that, happiness, joy, general good feelings are basically the most common thing that your art seems to invoke in people. What aspect of your creations do you think lends to that? You know, what brings you that joy as well?
I think what brings me that joy, and I just noticed in the background a little something, the commission, that's cool.
Thank you again
yes.
for that.
Oh no. I think for me, just telling a story, and I'm trying to find a fun way to tell that story. Like, I think I take pride in people going, what are you going to do with that? Or like, oh my gosh, you're crazy. How are you going to do that? And just kind of putting it out there. And I think when people see it, it's just some part of it's overwhelming, but then it draws them in and it makes them want to look through everything. Because even with the exclusive Hall H, it's really big. It's a lot to take in. But when you take your time to move through each section, there's a little story in each one. And I think that's what people appreciate about the work that I do, is that when I put these fandoms together, I am a fan of that, or I become a fan of it. I try to learn as much as I can about it. And they see those little notes. And I think that's what I appreciate about other artists, is when they put those little notes that maybe not the mainstream people are going to get, but that, oh my God, that little, oh, you put that in there. Oh my God, what is that? And it's cool because you have that connection, and maybe with just like 5 people or 10 or 50. But I think that's what it works really well with my work, is that it draws you in one way or another. And again, since I have a wide range of things that I like, it's just cool to see diverse groups of people coming and getting the work.
You're so prolific in your art, and you just always seem to be creating in so many different genres. But is there anything that you haven't done yet that you'd like to?
I think more kids books for myself. I really do want to get more into kids books. I always say I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna get an agent, I'm gonna put stuff together, but then I never do. So I think after Comic-Con, and I said this last year too, but I want to kind of hunker down and start really thinking about doing more kids books, more stories from like the Filipino side of my culture and incorporating it to how I grew up here somehow. I don't know yet, but I was able to satisfy one thing and come up with kind of my own resin vinyl toy that I wanted to share with you guys here for the very first time. I haven't shown it really to anyone, so it would be the first reveal for you. So is it cool if I show that real quick?
Absolutely.
So it took a while for me to come up with it, but I started at the end of last year. And it literally is an unboxing, see? But this little guy is based off of my son, because every morning he would wake up and say, hug, just want a hug. So this little guy is called Hug. So let me take him out. Little dinosaur kid in PJs. So he's about 4 inches tall, and he's like heavier than a Funko for the most part. But this is the guy right here. Can you guys see it okay?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah. So that is my very own creation, my very own thing. And I'll have a few of these available on Monday, my site.
On Monday?
awesome.
Do you know what time?
Yes, I will drop these 10 a.m. Monday for pre-order, because I only have 50. That's it. That's all they exist. And then I'll be releasing 25 this Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time.
And do you know the price yet?
He'll be 65 plus shipping and all that stuff. And then it will ship probably at closer to the end of the month, because I want to put some little things in here, make them all unique kind of thing. Like the name is Hug, but I want to this is Thaddeus Hug. This is Georgina Hug. So I want them to be like part of the family, but each one unique. And so I want to give them each story. So when people get it, they're like, oh, this is my own individual Hug. Yes, it is. Everything about it is individual and unique, and one of 50, and it's yours. So yeah,
Love it.
that was
Love it.
my cross it off my wish list for last year. So I'm really, really happy with that.
Well, so you do all of these different genre things and all these nerd things, but what was the thing, or maybe even the person, that got you to being a fan of nerd culture or genre culture or anything like that? What was the thing, the hook that got you when you were young?
Drawing comic book covers, trying to copy them, trying to copy comic book covers was what got me into it. Because I think that was the closest thing to like I never went to like museums or anything when I was younger. I just had a lot of comics and went to comic book stores all the time. And I was probably like 5 or 6, and I wasn't reading the comics. I was just looking at the pictures, making sound effects. And it's interesting. The first comic book cover that I copied wasn't anything like superhero related. It was the Nom by Michael Golden.
Oh yeah, those were awesome covers.
Yeah, those were awesome. And I would just like look at them, and his covers, and I think that's what got me into all the detail stuff. His covers were just like so detailed. I'm like, I want to draw like that. And so I would copy it, and it would look nothing like it. One proportions were off and everything. So I was like, damn, I suck at copying. I'm just going to make my own up. And so from then I just started to make my own as I went from like first, second grade, all the way to like high school and then college, hopefully fine tuning my skills there. But I think that was it. And then just that experience of going to the comic book shop on the weekends to pick up like new comics and to grab back issues of comics that I didn't know existed. And I think at that time when I was younger, I would go and get all these back issues of Fantastic Four by John Byrne. And I was just like eating them up, like, oh my God, it's so good.
So you mentioned Michael Golden and John Byrne. Do you have any other artistic influences? Something or someone that does not have another artist that influences your art or desire to create?
Yeah, there's so many. Just to name quickly a few: Bill Watterson, definitely. Arthur Rackham did a lot of like Alice in Wonderland watercolor stuff. Norman Rockwell, big time. And then before Rockwell, a guy called J.C. Leyendecker, who was Rockwell's teacher. So all those are like, they did like all these amazing illustrations for like the Saturday Evening Post and things like that. But a lot of people don't know who they were. They're just, their work, but you don't know their names. And so when I first started learning about them, it just kind of opened that world up again to like storytelling on one image. And so every time you see their magazine covers, it's just like a big poster that you would see today, but just like, it just captured so much life. And so that kind of led me on the quest to go to the museums and kind of see them in person. And I think that's what gave me that little bit more personality in my work, is seeing these masterpieces in person kind of helped me to see, okay, how do I breathe life in these things so that they breathe life to other people when they see them? And I think that's kind of what helped push my artwork a bit more.
We love your artwork, and I am so excited for the hug on Monday. I'm definitely going to be trying for that. But you also have some mini originals coming tomorrow, right?
Yes, tomorrow.
So talk a little bit about those, yeah.
So the mini originals just started as an experiment a couple of years ago. Like, let me see if anyone likes them. And it went off really well. And then last summer was like the first summer I did it all. And I got so much anxiety dropping those every day. I just was like, my heart can't take this. Because I would feel so bad that everyone's just like hovering around like, you can't stand. And then when they would rush, people would get pushed and stuff. And I felt awful. And then when people were like, I was waiting and I got pushed, I didn't get it. And I'm like, oh my God. And then they walked away. And it's like, I feel like such a horrible person doing that to people. So I just put it all online. And I think moving forward, I'm putting them all online. But basically, they're like little business card size. But I brought a few. They're framed. And they all start kind of like this. A really rough sketch. I'm actually working on the last 5. I'm dropping 50 tomorrow. And then when I finish them off, they kind of end up like this. And so I didn't expect them to like be such a hit, but people are just gobbling these up, which is awesome. And because my intention was to give someone like a mini original, their own type of little commission without if you're on a budget. And so that's my main thing that I wanted to do. And so it's been working really well. And these things take me a long time. I won't lie. They take a lot. They're not fast. They take a long time, but it's worth it when someone tweets or sends me an email saying, I got it. It's in my house. And it's like right there on their desk, or, it's somewhere with their family photos. I'm like, oh, it's like a family portrait. That's cool. Okay.
So those launch tomorrow at 10, right?
Yep. 10 a.m. Yep. There'll be 50 of them.
They're $40, right?
60.
Okay,
Yeah.
my bad. They're $60 each. It's a limit of
one per person. Yeah.
order.
Yeah.
One. Yeah. Okay. So, James, why don't you wrap us up here?
Okay, so what is the one thing that encapsulates what it is to be at Comic-Con for you?
I caught the last part of Yvette, so I'm making sure I'm not copying her. It's like, dang, she said it. She said something good. I can't use that. I think the main thing that encapsulate it is your family. And what I mean by that is everyone always uses that term, like it's my my family. But for those of us that have been doing it year after year, and I see it now more and more, is that the family, even like from you guys who I get to see and talk to, from the volunteers, regular volunteers that come by, they, hey, I'm back. That's cool. I know you. Customers that come back that are from Canada, the UK, East Coast, Hawaii. They say, oh, I've been waiting to see you. It's our yearly thing. Like, yeah. And so it's not just, it's like a reunion. It's like a family reunion. That's what Comic-Con is to me. And that's what separates it from a lot of the other cons. Like there's great fandoms at every other con, but for San Diego Comic-Con, there's just something about it where it is like a family reunion where you haven't seen people for a long time, but when you see them, it's like you're just like taking off where you last left off. And it just feels awesome when you get that feeling.
Absolutely. That's definitely what Comic-Con feels like.
It is. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Patrick. You know, we love you and your work. Where can people find you online?
You can find me Instagram, Patrick Ballesteros, Twitter, Patrick Ballast without the arrows. I don't know why it happened that way. And Facebook, Patrick Ballesteros. And that's my website, patrickballesterosart.com.
Right. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you, guys.
Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And we are going
We are
to,
also saying goodbye to Robert.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us, Robert. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
a little later today, I think.
Yeah, just maybe. All right.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
All right. And real quick, we're going to bring on our rotating co-host, Aaron Tapkin.
Is she there? There she is.
Hi, I'm starting my
Hey,
video.
Aaron.
Hi.
All
And
right.
we've also got our new guest, Brittany Curran from The Magicians.
And now she's there. All right.
Hi.
Can you
How
guys
are
hear
you
me?
doing, Brittany? Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I've Zoom technology hates me, so I swear every Zoom call no one can ever hear me. So I'm really glad that the live Zoom call is working out. So
Good, good. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And for anyone who doesn't know, you were on The Magicians, which, if you follow my Twitter at all, you know I love. But one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on is because, yes, you are an actor, but I also know that you are a huge geek. You're Disney and Harry Potter and all of that. And it looked like you just had an amazing time at Comic-Con. And I feel like we don't often get to see actors like geek out at the con.
Oh,
So
yeah.
can you just tell us a little bit about what your experience of getting to go to Comic-Con was like?
Oh, it was awesome. I geeked out on the floor alone in my hotel room on panels in front of 8,000 people. I just had absolutely no shame. As you know, you saw a lot of this happen. Yeah, I'd always dreamed of going, I mean, like so many people do, actors and nerds alike, and I am both of those things put together. I'd always dreamed of going to Comic-Con and of being on a panel and walking through the floor and all that stuff. And so my fiance James and we got there a little early because I was doing 2 panels last year. I was doing the TV Guide fan favorite panel and the Magicians panel. And so because of that, it gave us extra days there. And then we tacked on an extra day at the end because I wasn't needed back in Vancouver, which is where we filmed the Magicians, for days after. So I was like, why not just stay the whole weekend? And so we spent so much time on the floor. I literally, see, I'm already nerding out. I literally have like things around my computer ready to talk about. So like, I got like this Break Bill's magnet, a Darth Vader magnet. Like I still have the pictures up from the EW party on my fridge. And I just thought, I was like, oh, I should go show them that. But I think the nerdiest moment for me was definitely when I was on the TV Guide fan favorite panel. And I'm a huge fan of The Good Place. And I think you probably already know where I'm going with this. And so Damian Hallbrook of TV Guide, he had invited me to be on the panel. And then leading up to it, we were DMing on Twitter. And then he told me, he was like, by the way, we're going to have guests from this show. And he said The Good Place. And I was like, The Good Place? And then the day before they announced it, I was like, please be Chidi, because Chidi's my favorite. I'm obsessed with him. I identify with him too much, honestly. It's painful to watch him because I'm like, oh God, that's like me, but without like the genius philosophical part. And so Damien told me that William Jackson Harper, who plays Chidi, was going to be on the panel, and I flipped out emotionally and in my DMs to him, and he said, do you want me to seat you next to him? And I'm pretty sure all I responded back was duh. And so I met him backstage, and thank God he was so nice. What a bum out, because sometimes people aren't nice and that really ruins things. But William Jackson Harper was so nice. And then Damien brought up this story on the panel in that huge hall. And then I was sitting next to him and I was just like, ah, and he was so nice. And then after I did, like, me and Damien were talking about it, like to the side, he kind of whispered to me, I can't remember exactly what it was because I was like freaking out. But something really, really sweet and kind, and letting me know that he wasn't scared of me, you know, or wasn't going to get a restraining order. He might now though, because one of my managers came over before the lockdown, and he's like, I have a present for you. And it's this. It's a Chidi and a Gagne pop. And yeah, he was sitting next to my computer waiting for an appearance. So that's where I'm at emotionally. But yeah, it was amazing. I'm wearing my Seven Dwarfs dress right now. And I think I wore a Snow White t-shirt on one of the panels that I actually bought at a vendor on the floor earlier that morning, because my other Snow White shirt wasn't delivered in time. So I've said too much about who I really am.
I love it.
Well, Magicians has ended, but it still has a really passionate, maybe borderline rabid, if we're talking about Carrie here, fan base. What do you attribute that passion to? Like, what do you think it is about the show that inspired that level of love?
Oh yeah, we have the best. I'm actually sitting here with my my Magician's mug that my brother bought me. Actually, he gave this to me for Christmas, and I was like, you know, Universal would have just given me this for free, but you know, it means more coming from the counts. Which is Spencer's. I think, in addition to obviously just being a great show, our writers are amazing. Like the whole team, the crew, the actors, we all care so much about it. And it's like, it's a fantasy world, which people love, but just naturally. But I think on top of that, I think what makes the connection even deeper for people, or at least for me as a fan myself of the show, is that we dive into so many difficult subjects. We talk about mental health issues. And I think we talk about them. I mean, I'm saying we, it's the writers. We're just representing it on screen. But I love how the Magicians deals with like really, really serious issues and honors them as serious issues, but then also does a good job of making light of it sometimes. And I know for myself personally, I have generalized anxiety disorder, and I think I have depression. I'm not sure. But definitely anxiety. That's a for sure thing that I have. And so for me, one of the things that helps me, one of the most therapeutic things for me is humor, and is making fun. I mean, I obviously wouldn't reflexively do this to somebody else because you never know, but like making fun of it. I don't know how else to say it. It might sound more mean than it is, but like the more I make fun of it, the more it belittles it. And I think, okay, my anxiety isn't me. It's this stupid thing that like gets into my brain and takes over. So if I can kind of mock it, or if I can make jokes about it, that's so therapeutic for me. And I think that is for a lot of people, while still taking it very, very seriously and knowing it's a mental health issue. So I think the Magicians does that, is they take it seriously, but then they're like, but that doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're less of a person. It doesn't mean that it defines you, and you can still be hilarious and have a good sense of humor. And we can still make fun of this, like, can you swear on this? Yeah, like this complete bullshit thing that happened to humanity. And it's really refreshing. And then the representation on the show is just incredible too. the diversity on the show is so important. It's so incredibly important to be able to see, just like, I don't know how to say it, but like seeing yourself as I mean, I'm white, but as a woman, like being able to see yourself on the screen is so important. I didn't fully understand it personally until I saw Wonder Woman. I know this is gonna sound, I was just actually talking about this the other day, so I'm not like always talking about this. I was talking about it publicly. I remember seeing Wonder Woman in theaters and I started crying during the fight scene. And I realized that, like the fight scene in the beginning with all the women.
Yeah.
And I realized that I'd never like seen women.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And I was like, oh, wow. And like growing up, I never thought about being strong. I thought about being in maybe good shape, having good cardio, being like aesthetically, those types of things, but never like, well, I should try to lift that weight, not to get toned arms, but to actually be physically strong. And that was never an idea for me as a woman growing up. Even though I had very empowering parents, just it wasn't their fault. It just wasn't a thing. So like seeing that in Wonder Woman, I was like, oh my God, I care about being strong now. That's a cool thing. And so that's just like a little silly example from my life. But seeing characters that represent you or have a similar identity to you, whether it's LGBT plus or your heritage or your culture or wherever you're from. It's just, I mean, I'm just saying the same words over and over again, but it really matters.
It does matter. And I think that's one of the reasons that people do love The Magicians. And I love that you and Jay Taylor, who played Katie on the series, have tried to sort of keep that magic going with your weekly Magic and Chill Wednesdays.
Yeah.
How did that idea come about?
So the last episode of The Magicians aired, the very last one aired, God, when did it air? I don't remember, but it definitely aired during the pandemic.
During COVID, yeah.
And I thought to myself, God, like, you know, everyone's stuck at home and the show is over. And this was like such a good feeling of community, like going on Twitter every Wednesday night and talking to the fans and talking to each other and watching the episodes just feels like such a community. And I thought this is such an important time to still carry on that community that is already digital and is already virtual. So that worked out really good. So I was like, I'm just going to start rewatching the series. I wanted to rewatch it anyways, because I hadn't seen the beginning for a while. So I was like, I'll just start from episode 101 next Wednesday. And then I talked to Jade about it and she said, oh, I want to tweet with you. And I said, yes, please. It's so much more fun with like interaction from other people with the show. And then we invited some other people from the show to tweet with us as well. And yeah, and it just turned into that of like, we're all stuck at home. Why not celebrate the things that we still can celebrate, watching our TVs? And for me, I love rewatching things. I'm a big rewatcher. Apparently that's a thing for people with anxiety too. I just read about in a very serious article that it's like comforting to rewatch things. So I mean, I don't even need to tell you how many times I've seen Atomic Blonde in the past year, but it's more than 30. And I thought maybe it would be comforting for other people to rewatch it. And Jade just loves it. Jade loves the show and me, and I love her. And yeah, and it's just been everyone's been so awesome.
Wonderful. Well, one of the other reasons I wanted to bring you on is I know you are a huge fan of supporting the arts, and we are also huge on that right now. And I just want to mention again, if you're watching this, that if you go to our site, we have resources to find all of the artists and vendors from Comic-Con. Please go support them. But are there any artists or small businesses that you want to give a shout out to? They don't have to be Comic-Con related.
Oh gosh, it's funny. I wasn't even thinking about small businesses in general. There's a small business in Burbank, in Burbank, California, that I really love. They don't have anything to do with Comic-Con, but they're called Mindful Nest. No, a little pun there. Mindful Nest in Burbank on Magnolia Boulevard, and it's woman owned, and one of the owners is actually in the shop all the time herself. And all of their products are sourced from at least American artists, small artists, and most of their products are sourced from California artists and local artists. And they also make a very deliberate point to have a lot of diverse artists. They have a lot of Black female artists. They already did, and since the Black Lives Matter movement they have put even more effort into getting even more art and stuff from Black female artists, which is amazing. And I actually got a bunch of my masks from them, and literally the owner herself, I ordered it online. It showed up later that day from the owner herself, because I just know what she looks like. And I was like, oh my God, the owner dropped off my mask. And yeah, so I love Mindfulness in Burbank. And oh gosh, there's so many other people. I love Greg Crayola Simpkins. I'm friends with him, but he's this really prolific street artist. I love his art. I love his philosophy about art and about life and about fantasy. And it's funny, I've been watching your whole thing, including when I was in the shower and my hair's still wet, and I like put it on as loud as possible, and I was like trying to listen while I was showering. That's something you can't do at Comic-Con. And when you showed Patrick Ballesteros' animation of all of us, I was like, oh, I should go check out his site. And I've been meaning to support vendors that aren't obviously, going to be there at this time, because small businesses are impacted way more than anyone else.
Yes.
Especially with Comic-Con, like by far the worst. A lot of them make most of their money from, you guys know this, but like a lot of them make most of their money from that literally less than a week each year. And so this is incredibly tragic for them, and they need to be supported. So anyways, I went onto Patrick Ballesteros' website and I just wanted to check it out. And then I was like, well, let me support. And then I put like 10 things in my cart and I bought all of them. And so now I'm really obsessed. He's really awesome. I really love him.
He is awesome. We adore Patrick.
I'm sure he's really nice too. I guess I'll know soon.
He is super nice.
Okay, good.
You really couldn't support a nicer guy.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that I was just like, bye on everything. Yeah. And then it's funny. I've been a fan tweeted at me earlier, and their name is Deckers Diaz on Instagram, on Twitter. And they have their own Etsy shop, and they have what's it called? Coasters of Fen with a quote of Fen. So I'm totally going to buy those. And they also made an Elliot Waugh mask, which I'm also going to buy because I'm getting really into mask fashion. Plus I love Hale Appleman and Elliot. And so I'm going to buy some of their stuff. I think they're called Deckers Diaz. That's their thing on Twitter. I'm going to think of like 10 more artists at the end.
You can tweet us later. We'll retweet it. Don't worry.
Oh, gosh. But yeah, it's so important. And I'm an ambassador for Create California.
I was going to ask you to
talk a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you could talk a little bit about that and tell us why you feel so passionately about arts in schools.
Cool. I've never asked my own follow-up question that was the exact same one that I was about to. Yeah. So go team, go all of us. So I've been working with Create California, which is an organization that is championing arts education in schools. Sorry, my puppy is biting on the table below me. So it's specifically California schools, but is still for the greater good. So for California schools, there's an actual mandate to have a comprehensive arts education in every single school, like an actual lawful mandate. And only 12% of schools adhere to that mandate. And of course, there's certain communities, rich communities are like fine, but communities that are more poor get super underserved. Different demographics get super underserved, and it's also an equity issue, and it's ridiculous and it's horrible. And so Create California is trying to actually fully implement that law. And so we've been talking to a lot of artists. We talk to school boards. Like we're actually, I'm an ambassador. I'm not in the meetings talking to the school boards, but the Create CA people are, to put in real changes. And the great thing is that it's actually a super actionable thing that anyone can do. You can go to their website, which is just createca.org, and you can sign the pledge to get a comprehensive arts education in all California schools. And it takes like 15 seconds. And and it's just so, arts are so important, especially we see times like this, like we're at home and art is really therapeutic. The last gentleman was just saying that too, I noticed. And I feel like it's times like this that make us realize like how important art really is, even if it's not like your career. I mean, the first week of lockdown, I was literally just watching Dexter for a week straight. Somehow watching a serial killer psychopath was comforting to me. I don't know what that says about my psychology. But that's what I was doing. And I've watched so many movies, and I've been writing, and I've been doing puzzles, and it's just really been a real lifesaver. If you hear noises, I'm sorry. It's my puppy trying to go outside, and Emmy, come here.
You were fine. We did have one reader question that I think you'll enjoy that we want to get to. James?
Damien Cruz asked, what's your current favorite whiskey?
Ooh, excellent question. So actually back there is 10 whiskeys from Isla that James got me for my 30th birthday last month, because we were supposed to be in Scotland. My favorite whiskey, that's a good question. So it's probably... Let me model it. I hope they give me free whiskey after this. Bruichladdich Black Art. This is Bruichladdich Black Art, 1994. It's so good. I think I produced a documentary about Scotch whiskey, and that I already loved it, and then I got even more into it. So yeah, probably Bruichladdich. I also love Lafroig Distillery, Lagavulin Distillery. I have like the palate of like a 90-year-old Scottish man who lives in the countryside. Like I just like to eat smoke and peat, and I like to feel like I'm drinking a battery acid. So that's the kind of whiskey I'm in. Not all of this, I'm not saying that's what it tastes like, but none of that tastes like that. Some people think. But yeah, that's probably my favorite. Good question.
It is a good question. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but Brittany, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on Twitter. My handle is just my name that probably is coming out, Brittany Curran. Same with Instagram. I do cameos now, which has been like super fun, especially during this time. And it's just like my name on Cameo. I'm on Facebook too. I don't use it as much. But yeah, those are my main places, I think.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. This was so fun. Thank you for having me. It was good. It was really nice to see you again. It made me like not miss Comic-Con quite as much. So this was like such a nice day.
It was.
Thank you.
It was lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Bye, Brittany.
Now you got to go take the dog out.
Yeah, I know that poor thing. She is just fine. I took her out half an hour ago. She's spoiled. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So up next, we have author and illustrator Victoria Ying. I think you're still on mute. There we go.
Hi.
Hi, Victoria.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. All right. So let's just get into this. First of all, for anybody who doesn't know, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Victoria Ying. I'm an author and illustrator. I have a background in animation. My film credits include Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, Big Hero 6, Moana, and Frozen. Currently, I am working in comics, writing and illustrating my own books, and my debut middle grade graphic novel, City of Secrets, will be out on Tuesday everywhere.
We are going to talk about City of Secrets more in a minute, but first, we just wanted to ask you, it's a crazy time. You've obviously still been staying creative, but how have your days or your schedule changed during this stay-at-home time?
Oh, it definitely is one of those things about being an author and illustrator where my day-to-day actually hasn't changed very much. I work from home and my schedule is something that I make for myself. What is interesting is just kind of all of my friends now being in the same boat when they didn't sign up to be or want to be. And all the different industries kind of trying to adapt to this new way of life. For me, like what's really changed is when I do choose to go out and I see the world has changed, and that it's almost like when you keep your head down and you're in your own little universe of your book, like you can kind of forget all about that. But then, the moment you have to go to the grocery store or like order food, and then this whole process of, disinfecting everything and wearing masks and all that, like it definitely it feels like I'm entering like a different world than I was before.
Well, speaking of a different world, Comic-Con, you've been going for many years. And so what keeps you going back? Is it like the networking opportunities? Is it meeting fans? A little bit of everything?
Well, for me, I've been going to Comic-Con since I was 16 years old. So my very first Comic-Con was back in 2002, I think.
Wow.
And it was a really different place. I think that watching Comic-Con evolve and grow, I've gone every year. I've been as an attendee, I've been as an exhibitor. For me, like kind of growing up with Comic-Con in a lot of ways, I love like meeting fans, having people who are so enthusiastic about the kind of work that we're doing. And, Comic-Con, because it's kind of evolved into more of a general pop culture, because I think that our pop culture now involves comics so much, has been just really cool to see. And like now everyone kind of understands like what I'm doing. When I was starting to go to Comic-Con and I was like, I like comics and manga, and people were like my friends at high school were like, what's that? And now it's like, oh, like everyone's into those things now. It's no longer like this specialized culture. It kind of feels like I get to share the things that I love with everyone now.
So you transitioned just from an attendee to being a special guest and a participant and all that. So you've gotten to see sort of both sides of everything, and you've also gotten to see Comic-Con evolve from being mostly comics and expand fandoms outward. So that's interesting to me, like how maybe it seems different as an attendee and now as a a vendor and an illustrator.
So last year I actually the year before I took a year off and I didn't exhibit. I actually just went as an attendee, and that was the first time I went as an attendee in like 8 years. So being able to kind of like come back to that and see Comic-Con from that perspective was really fun too, because as an exhibitor, like it's really great because people come to you and you really get to like interact with fans. But as an attendee, like there's so much cool stuff to do. Like there's like galleries and events and panels, and like when I was exhibiting, I didn't get to participate in most of that stuff. And
I suppose your point of view is just you're behind your table, you're conducting business, and you're talking to people, and all you see is what's in front of you and who's passing in front of you. So
yeah, like people come to me, and that's nice. Like I definitely get to network and meet people that way. But like being an attendee, like you really get to participate a lot more in the events and the ways that they try to make pop culture really accessible to everybody and give you that fan experience. Like that was really cool to do again.
Can you hold up your new graphic novel again? Yes. City of Secrets. And this is something that you both wrote and illustrated, and it's the first of it. Is it a two-parter?
It is. Yeah, it's going to be a duology. So this one comes out Tuesday, and the second one is good.
Tell us like all about it and about creating your own universe and how that all started.
So City of Secrets is the story of a young orphan boy. His name is Ever Barnes, who lives in a moving building, and he is guarding a family secret, which is that there is a safe inside of the building. He's never opened the safe. He doesn't know what's inside. No one does. One day, a guild of assassins comes to kill him because he's the only person who knows how to open it. And he and his new friend, Hannah Morgan, have to open it to discover the secret inside the city.
That sounds awesome.
I'm
really excited about it. Very, very intriguing. Does it have there's a lot of books that come out that are geared towards young adult that are very, very popular with adults. Does this have an age range to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's technically middle grade, so it's technically the age range is 8 to 12, but I do think that it's a crossover kind of story because there are a lot of elements that maybe are upper middle grade. So I do think that like young adults will like it. And if you're an adult who just likes fantasy adventures, I think that I very much enjoy it. So yeah.
So as both a writer and illustrator, is there one of those roles that you find easier, or does it just depend on the project?
I mean, for me, because being an illustrator and an author, it means that I get to produce the whole thing by myself, basically. When I was working in films, like I really was a piece of the whole puzzle, and we got to make these massive projects that really were involving all these different people contributing all their different talents to it. And that is such a satisfying process as well. Like I love being part of a big project like that where, you know, everyone's heard of Frozen. I don't have to like explain what that is. Like that's really great. And the ways that I got to tell story as a part of that process was really exciting and really fulfilling. But doing my own project start to finish, writing and illustrating my book, everything is on me. Like I can no longer fall into that, like, well, you know, that movie was beautiful, but the story was dumb. Oh, well, I didn't write it, so it's not my fault, you know? Like in this case, I wrote and illustrated it. So every single piece of it is on me. Like I take responsibility for that, which is daunting and exciting because I know that the buck stops with me no matter what happened. And there's something really freeing about that because on the one hand, I don't have to get approval from anybody else. But on the other hand, like I know that I'm limited, you know, like working on these films and seeing everyone else's talents, I know how talented other people are. So there's a part of me that's like, oh man, this other person could have done this part so much better than me. And, you know, for me, I kind of just had to accept my limitations and just tell the story the best way that I knew how.
You also illustrated a book that's been really popular at my comic book store in the past 6 months, and that is the Diana, Princess of the Amazons. It's such a good mixture of story, but also like a little bit of lesson. And how I was curious though, like how important you think it is for young women to be confident and to set their own standards and to you know, make their own way in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that book was such a precious book to me. It was my very first, you know, printed piece of graphic novel material. And I got to work with Shannon and Dean Hale, who were the authors on that. And they really understood kids and they understood kind of the challenges of being a girl and being a kid. And, you know, working with them on the story, I really was able to connect to the feelings of children and what they're going through. I think that like for young girls, when we see Wonder Woman, like she's so iconic, she's so powerful, she's so, you know, she's one of the Justice League and she has such like an even keel. She's such like a, you know, she's compassionate, but she's very powerful and composed. And, you know, for a kid, sometimes you feel like you're so far away from that. You're like, oh, but like I'm awkward and I'm, you know, I don't know where I fit in yet. And to kind of show that Wonder Woman was once like that too. Like she wasn't always Wonder Woman. She was once a kid too. And maybe she also had those feelings is like very validating for kids. And I think that, you know, to see yourself reflected in a character who's as powerful and iconic as Wonder Woman is a really like powerful thing. And I wish that I could have seen something like that when I was a kid.
I really love the way that you drew her. Exactly like you said, you know, she's maybe not super confident. You know, this is Wonder Woman. She's not Wonder Woman yet. You know, she doesn't quite know. In the way she's a little bit slouchy, you know, her hips are a little bit forward. She's not always, she doesn't always look proud. And so I love the way that you were able to convey that just through the posture, that the way that she was standing. It's just, it's a beautiful, beautiful graphic novel.
Thank you.
I highly recommend it to all ages.
Yeah, I love writing for middle grade and illustrating for middle grade. My new book is also like my characters are around that age, 11, 12-ish. And, you know, it's such an interesting age for kids because you're moving out of the phase where you're very much attached to your parents and you're kind of becoming your own person. And you're really discovering like your own thoughts and feelings and what those are independent of the people who raised you. And, you know, I think that telling those stories and really figuring out like what the vulnerabilities are of kids at that age. And my book, City of Secrets, is a power fantasy at its core. And, you know, discovering your own power when you're that young is also something that I've always been very interested in.
That's cool. Mentioned that it's a duology and the first one's coming out Tuesday. When's the next one?
The next one is coming out July 2021, so exactly a year from now. I don't know that we have an exact date yet, but we're definitely aiming for July 2021.
Next Comic-Con when we
next Comic-Con. I mean,
fingers
crossed. I'm going to be here for this Comic-Con, so I'm definitely really bummed about that.
Yeah.
It does have to be weird because, like, I think you tweeted about this the other day, but at Comic-Con, like, you had tweeted you were so excited, like, to get to meet your readers basically for the first time of this book, and that didn't quite happen.
Yeah.
What do you think you're missing the most about No Physical Con?
I mean, I think that for me, this book, writing and illustrating comics is such like a isolated experience. Like you really do everything alone in your, like, you have your family and your friends, but the actual process of making the thing is so internal and it's so personal. And so when you finally do get to share it with the world, like that's this big celebratory moment, and you kind of get to be like, this is what I did for 2 years. Like, I promise I wasn't doing nothing, because, whenever I talk to people about my book, it's like, oh yeah, like if it's not out, or, since it's my debut, it's like the very first thing that I've done. And, I have this feeling that people are like, oh, but what are you doing? And, when I get to be like, this is what I did. I spent 2 years making this thing, like that actually feels like it would be validating in a way to be like, yeah, no, I wasn't just sitting around and doing nothing. I actually like made a thing, and now you get to see it. So I think that I'm definitely missing that aspect of it. Like just seeing my friends, other Comic-Con artists and writers and stuff, because there's so many people come from out of town. Like a lot of times that's the only time of year that I ever get to see some of my friends is Comic-Con. And so, to lose that this year is really sad.
Yeah, we're all missing it. This is it's a nice thing being able to gather at least this way and celebrate a bit of Comic-Con. So your book is coming out this Tuesday, and you've done Wonder Woman. Is there any characters that you'd like to take on now that you are done with your project, or are you going to keep working in the self-publishing and so creator-owned works?
Well, for me, the upcoming projects, I've got City of Secrets, and then I have the sequel, which is going to be called City of Illusion, and that's coming out July 2021. And then I'm actually under contract for 2 more books. They're going to come out with first, second. The first one is called Hungry Ghost, which is a memoir-based fiction about growing up Asian American and struggling with an eating disorder in terms of that cultural aspect. So it's very different than City of Secrets. Illustration wise, it's going to look completely different. Story wise, it's like nothing the same, different ages, different characters, different issues, but they're still both very close to my heart. So I'm actually like booked for the next 4 years basically with those books. And then my next book after that will be an unannounced YA contemporary project. And also right now I'm working on a pilot with Cartoon Network. We are working, so, I mean, it's a pilot, so I'm hoping it goes to series, we'll see. But it is a teen paranormal past lives romance.
That sounds fun.
Yes, that sounds
it's
cool.
so good. I love it so very much, and I really, really hope people can see it.
I visit your blog quite a bit, and one of the things I noticed is that you have a lot of really great information and resources for other creators. You talk a lot about scripting a graphic novel. You had a post that was a lot about working your way through artist block. Mm-hmm. And reading it, I get the sense that you are comfortable being a little bit of a mentor to people maybe getting into the industry. And I was curious who filled that role for you when you were getting into the industry.
So, I don't think anyone makes it on their own. We all need hands up from people, especially people who are willing to give you that kind of mentorship. For me, some of the most significant people were actually through a training program at Disney, the mentorship program. One of them was Claire Keane, who is Glenn Keane's daughter. And she is an incredible children's book illustrator. And just like as a person and a creative person, she really inspired me to be like more free with my art and really more personal and tap into something that was not just beautiful on its surface, but also had some depth. So she definitely influenced me in that way. And another artist there, his name was Kevin Nelson, was a huge influence for me because he was just so generous and really giving and invested in my career in a way that he really spoke to the analytical side of me. I can be both things. Like I'm very emotional and feely, and like those things really matter. But at the same time, like I really do need to have structure in some way. And for me, they both filled those roles. Claire for the much more emotional side, and then Kevin for a much more structured and analytical sense of art.
That's fantastic.
So, bringing it back around to Comic-Con, is there any one particular moment in the many years you've been going that stands out as like the most memorable? Or on the flip side, if you can't think of one specific moment, is there something that just basically means Comic-Con to you?
Oh man, I mean, so many things. It's difficult because there are so many like moments that I can think of. But okay, just kind of generally speaking, whenever I get to meet my heroes, and like most of the time that's happened at Comic-Con, because that's the place where all of these genre writers and creators can come together. And, you know, when I was a kid and growing up and, you know, getting to stand in line and meet these people, that was so exciting for me because you just don't get that opportunity anywhere else. And then now being a creator, like last year I was invited to the Penguin party because my book is coming out with Penguin, and, you know, being able to kind of stand there as a peer and to like meet my heroes and actually just be like, oh yeah, I'm like one of you too. Like that moment was like it was so huge for me, because like even though I felt like, you know, I worked on all these films and I'd been working for a long time, I still didn't really feel like I was part of the like Comic-Con elite, you know, or not elite, but, you know, like the people who make the thing that you love. And, you know, finally meeting them on that level where, you know, they got to see me as a fellow author just felt really good.
Well, we love your work.
Yes, I love you.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm a big fan, and I know we're running short on time, but I wanted to show this commission that I got from you. This was back in 2012. This is Little Lotta that you did for me. She's a character that I really, really love. And this is a cherished piece in my collection. So I just want you to know that I appreciate really cool. You coming and talking to us and sharing. And it means a lot to me personally. And thank you. And thank you to James and Carrie for letting me come in and totally geek out.
No, that's awesome. And that's so cool to see the commission again. That's so cool.
We really do love your work, Victoria. We have for years. But we are unfortunately running short on time. So real quick, one more time, where can people find you online and where can people buy the book?
I am at Victoria Ying on Twitter and Instagram. My website is victoriaying.com. City of Secrets will be available on Tuesday wherever books are sold.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, Victoria. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
And coming up next, we have Adam McArthur from Star versus the Forces of Evil.
This is just like nonstop excitement. Like
It is.
Ooh.
Am I here?
Hi, Adam. How are you doing?
Are we live?
We are live.
Oh,
this whole thing is live.
I feel like probably everyone has said that as they've logged on. Hi, how are you guys?
Good. How are you doing in these crazy times?
It's, you know, I can't complain. I'm healthy and still working and all of that good stuff. So yeah, the minor annoyances I can deal with, and thankfully it's nothing too severe has happened. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, so getting right into this. So you're probably most known for playing Marco Diaz on Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Correct.
And you've been to Comic-Con several times for the series, but you're also a huge geek, just like us.
Yes.
When was the first time you went to Comic-Con?
Oh gosh, Comic-Con. The first time I went to Comic-Con was probably like 2012 or 2013. And then actually, you know what? It was 2011 because it was 2 years. I took a 2-year break until I went back for Star versus the Forces of Evil. I took a 2 or 3 year break. And I remember the last time I was at Comic-Con, I was walking around the floor and I was like, man, I love this so much, but I wasn't there. I wasn't there for a project. I was just there kind of experiencing it. And I was like, but the next time I come here, I want it to be for something. Like I want it to be for something. And I kind of remember I just stopped on the floor and people were passing by me like, hey, get out of the middle of the aisle. And I just stood there for a second and I was like, all right, the next time I'm here, it's going to be for something. So yeah.
Well, that's so fascinating that you were able to be on the floor and know, like, I want to be here, but I want to be in a different position. And like, how did you navigate making that transition from a fan to like a participant in Comic-Con in a panel?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something I had always dreamed of. So I started acting a long time ago, back when I was in high school. And I mean, being on a project that has a presence at Comic-Con was always the goal. I grew up in Northern California, where when WonderCon was up there, I used to go to WonderCon with good friends all the time. And so I just always knew that, like, I wanted to do it in the capacity that I'm so very, very fortunate to get to do it in now, which is usually there for a project. Yeah, now that Star's over, there's another series that was actually kickstarted called Salem that was supposed to have a presence at Comic-Con this year. So that's going to get pushed. But I'm super excited at some point to be there for that project because it's got an amazing cast. And yeah, I just hopefully get to do and have the experience all over again when we get back to normal.
Fingers crossed. And one of the things that I love that you've done the last years at Comic-Con is the Boba meetup for fans.
Yes.
How did it come about?
Well, if you follow me on social media, you know I really only talk about one thing, and that's boba. I love bubble tea, boba, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I don't know why. It's an unhealthy obsession. I love it so much, and as you know, I interacted with fans on Star versus the Forces of Evil, like on, you know, via social media. They all kind of became aware of my passion for this tasty tea treat. And I decided to, that I thought it would be fun to do something at Comic-Con that wasn't necessarily on site at Comic-Con, because I liked people who couldn't get a badge necessarily, or if it was a younger fan and their parents, you know, didn't want to spend the money to get them a ticket to Comic-Con, could still participate. So the past few years I partnered with SD Boba Tea, which is a family-owned boba shop there in San Diego. It's actually, I think technically it's in National City, so it's maybe about like a 10-minute drive from the convention center. And yeah, we usually pack it out with about 100 fans, and we sign autographs and take pictures. And really it started as I just wanted a place for people to hang out with other people who enjoy the same show and the same fandom and, you know, all that stuff. So it was a way to connect fans and for us to thank them for just being so wonderful and all that. So yeah, it's been fun. And I actually got to do it in New York last October. I did one. So I finally had like an East Coast meetup for some fans. And yeah, I think, you know, again, once we get back to normal, I think that's going to be a continual yearly thing. And I always appreciate you know, retweeting and reposting and making sure the word gets out for people who want to be there and stuff. That's all.
Absolutely.
I'm very grateful for that. Yeah.
What we're here for.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, so the attendees love Comic-Con because of obviously things like what you're doing with that meetup, being able to interact and have more than just, you know, having a purchase or something like that. It's an interaction, a personal level.
An experience. Totally.
From your side of that, what's it like interacting with fans, not being, you know, the one who's seeing, you know, the person they see on TV or whatever? What's it like from your side being able to interact with the fans?
It's oh man, it's a multitude of things. Humbling is the first word that comes to my mind, because it's, you know, it's a job for me. It's a job that I love, that I'm passionate about, that I've wanted to do forever. But at the end of the day, it's a job. And I go and I read the words that have been written for me, and I try and do my best, and then I leave. And usually a year, 2 years, sometimes later, I see it on TV, and I get to experience people reacting to it somewhat in real time now because of social media. But there is nothing like having someone come up to you and say, you know, I was going through a really hard time with my family. This project helped me get through it. And to me, again, it's just a job. And while I do feel very connected to the show and the character, and I try and do that with all the projects I'm involved in, it's hard to grasp the depth to which people are affected by these things until you're standing there face to face. So I think, I mean, truthfully, the word humbling is probably what I'm going to go with here because, yeah, it's just incredible. It's just incredible the impact that it makes on people. And I'm so glad that people take the time, work up the courage, spend the money, whatever it may be to let me know that, because it really, truly means so much.
Well, on the flip side of that coin, who have you met at Comic-Con that you nerded out over, or that sort of made you wanted to fanboy out about?
Yeah. Oh, well, I've met some of the cast of Stranger Things. That was really fun because, I mean, that was just one of those shows that, you know, was wildly popular. But by far, the coolest experience I had meeting a celebrity, and I actually got to be on a panel with him, was Weird Al. That was that was one of the coolest. That was one of the coolest celebs to meet. I mean, that guy is like what a career that guy has had. And he is such a nice person. He's incredibly kind. We had just like a regular old conversation. We laughed, and I don't know. He was just, at the end of it, I was telling one of my buddies who was with me, who got to be kind of in the green room pre-panel that we were on together, who has also loved Weird Al since he was a kid. I was like, man, he's pretty much normal Al. Like he's just like a straight up, like, I don't know. He was a really sweet guy, but that one was probably my coolest Comic-Con. I met Taron Egerton last year, and he was also a super nice guy. And I was a big fan of the Kingsman movies.
Yes.
So that was a cool one too. Yeah, that was a cool one too.
That's awesome. You are also, I know, very into exclusives, and it's so funny to me because you tweet us all the time about them. And in fact, you even got the Yesterday's pens the other day, didn't you?
I did. I'm so glad. Let me tell you, I never get stuff without like, hey, can anyone help me?
Yeah.
You know, like I never get stuff on my own. Exclusives are the hardest, most elusive, frustrating things. And I've been doing this this like movement workshop for the past 3 weeks, and it's with this guy named Terry Notary, who developed all the movement, all the motion capture animal movement for all the Planet of the Apes movies. And he was Baby Groot. He's done motion capture. Like he's behind the scenes famous in LA. And I've been doing a movement class with him, and it's been amazing. But class ends at 8:30, except Terry likes to talk, and we all like to work hard and listen to him and do more than we are supposed to. So we end up staying a little bit longer. But on whatever day it was, Wednesday, I was like, Thursday, I was like, I must be in my car at 9 a.m. Actually, like 8:59, because I'm getting that I Miss SDCC pen. And I actually think, so here's a tip for people who want these exclusives. I think if you have Apple Pay set up, I think it expedites and helps things immensely. Because I just double clicked, it does the face ID, and I didn't have to fill out my address, none of that stuff. And then I got my confirmation. I was like, yes, it made my day. I was so happy. But of course, then I tried to get Funkos the night before. None of that happened. I'm like, but that's to be expected with Funko. Yeah.
Highs and lows of Comic-Con.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there any exclusives that you've gotten over the years, though, that you are excited? Even just general stuff from Comic-Con, I guess.
Yeah.
I see you looking around your room. You're like,
yeah.
What's in here that I've gotten?
So I already know one for sure that I was going to call out. Two that I was going to call out. So in this case over here, you can't probably see it from here. But on the top shelf, I have the NECA Ninja Turtles from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. They had the 4-pack and like the big box that looked like the VHS.
Yeah.
So awesome. So that was one of them. And then another one is actually, I think it's hidden behind like the bar of the case. But there was, what is it? Tamashii Nations did a exclusive black and green Power Rangers Megazord. It wasn't last year. It was the year before, I think. It was either the year before or the year before that. And I needed that one too. So
I like that you take your exclusives out of the package and you really have them displayed.
I do.
Yes.
I do. But let me tell you. So we could talk toys forever. So last summer, my parents were like, hey, you have a house. We got to get all your old toys out of storage, like out of the back of the house. Like we got to get them down to you and da-da-da. So I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. So my sweet parents, they packed up my dad's truck and drove down from Northern California, and they brought me my storage bins of toys from when I was a kid. Now, I'm the kind of guy, I keep everything. The boxes, like there is not a missile missing from any of my original, like G.I. Joe, the general, like big vehicles or anything like that. They brought me 23 storage bins full of toys that I had to go through. I was like, oh my gosh. So needless to say, and then lots of stuff was still in boxes, but I was the kid who kept all my toys in boxes, and I have perfected opening things while not messing anything up. And because I've done that, I proudly display, like, all those. Actually, hold on, I'm gonna grab one of my other favorite.
Do it.
I can't remember.
This is actually why I wanted Adam to come on, is because I knew.
I can't remember which. Maybe it says on the bottom. Unruly. That's right. Unruly Industries. It was one of the. I think I got it on Sideshow Collectibles, but this was one of the exclusives from.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Comic-Con last year. Yeah, but I needed a cool like Miles Morales, and this is like, I don't know if you can see his shoelaces, but this just has like this. It's a vinyl figure, but the sculpture of it has so much dynamic movement. I saw it and I was like, oh, I gotta have that. I'm weak. I'm weak for the toys.
We understand. You're in good company.
Yeah, I know.
You are in good company.
Absolutely.
Finally,
yeah.
I'm home.
So, switching tracks back to the job, how did you get into voice acting? You said it's something that you've always wanted to do, but how did you take that idea into actuality?
Yeah, so when I was 16, I had literally begged my parents for acting classes since I can remember. I don't know necessarily where that came from. I've just always wanted to do it. And when I was 16 years old, they finally were like, all right, let's put him in some classes. So they found a woman named Judy Berlin. She owned a place called Kids on Camera in San Francisco. And she has done a lot of voices on Sesame Street, and a lot of her staff were working actors up in the Bay Area and like would come down to LA and work. So just David Rosenthal was a guy who taught there. Just really, really amazing people. And I started taking class there when I was 16. And about a year into classes, an audition for some Macy's radio commercials came across her desk, and they needed like young, like teen boy voices. And at that time I was a young teen boy. So she was like, hey, I want to have you audition for this. And so I ended up booking that job, and what was supposed to be one Macy's radio commercial turned into about 30 over the course of like 2 years. This was before I was in the Screen Actors Guild and didn't know that there was a Screen Actors Guild strike happening. So they were just they just had me do all the work that the SAG actors weren't doing at the time, which is totally wrong, but I had no idea. I was, a kid. So the money that I got from that, I saved up. I had a demo produced, and yeah, that kind of kicked it off. I did a bunch of kind of like video game industrial work when I lived up in San Francisco. And then when I moved down to LA in 2003, I got my very first agent was a voiceover agent here in LA. And then I just kind of chugged away and worked hard until, it was a really long time. I booked little things here and there, but I feel like I really caught my stride in 2011, 2012. My first kind of like bigger booking was a role on Star Wars Clone Wars when it was on Cartoon Network. I voiced Prince Lee Char on that, who was the Prince of Mon Calamari, which is the underwater. It was the first episodes in the Star Wars, in any Star Wars series where we would see characters underwater and like how that whole thing played out. So it was the first 3 episodes of season 4. So that was a lot of fun. And then that from there, it just kind of snowballed into 2013 when I got booked on Star versus the Forces of Evil. Yeah.
Well, since this is a podcast about Comic-Con, we just wanted to ask you, what is one thing that to you encapsulates what it is, what Comic-Con means?
Oh gosh. Okay. This is another one where it's like, oh, so many things. You know, I think what I like, oh, there's so many things I like. There's too many things I like. Well, again, that time with the fans, you know, one-on-one time, face-to-face time, personal time with people. I think that's what Comic-Con means to me. And whether that is with fans that I'm meeting or whether it's with people that I get to work with all the time that I might not necessarily get to hang out with, it's good hangout time. I love just getting opportunities to chat with people and learn more about them, really kind of connecting and becoming friends with people and not just having these people who I look up to and work with all the time just be, you know, work friends. So I think Comic-Con for me is about connection. It's about connecting, whether, like I said, fans, friends, all of that stuff. It's just about, you know, nurturing those friendships and relationships and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. And the exclusives don't hurt either.
Yeah, the exclusives definitely don't hurt.
All right. Well, Adam, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you on the internet?
Cool. Yeah. Super easy to find. My Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of that stuff is NinjaMac, @NinjaMac, NinjaMac.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this with us on a Saturday.
Of course.
And we hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, you guys. Great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And we are also going to say
Yes.
goodbye here to Aaron.
I'm gonna
Aaron,
split.
why don't you
Yes.
tell everyone real quick where they can find you on the internet?
You can find me at Bavarian Aaron. Instagram, Twitter, Bavarian Aaron. Thank you guys.
Right.
That was
Thank
amazing.
you.
I'll I'll maybe stop back and wave goodbye
Yeah.
later.
All
Okay,
right.
see you.
Thanks. Have fun. Bye.
All right, so real quick, we are going to bring on our next rotating co-host, which is our own Andy Wagner. If Andy is there.
He is there.
There we go. Hey, Andy, how you doing?
Oh, I am fantastic. How are you guys doing?
Good,
Yeah.
good.
That's more like it.
And we're going to bring on our next guest, which is Tom Vargas of Factory Entertainment.
Outstanding.
There he is.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey guys, how's it going?
Hey.
All right. Hey, Tom, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, it's a Saturday. I wish I was in San Diego, but I'm actually really thrilled to spend some time with you guys today.
Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead.
Let's just get right into this then. So when you first realized that conventions were not going to be a possibility this year, how do you think factories changed, or did it?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. What was that?
So obviously we don't have a physical convention this year, but I think you guys still did an awesome job with your exclusives this year. Did your strategy change at all when you found out it was going to be online only?
Yeah, it changed a little bit. What we did differently this year is we did a series of live videos, which we've never done before. And we tried to make a presentation of what we were going to be offering virtually instead. So about 2 weeks prior to the Comic-Con at Home starting, we hosted our own little thing called Consolation Con, which is kind of like a tongue-in-cheek name for our own virtual convention because, you know, if it's any consolation, at least we're doing something. So yeah, that's all that really changed. Otherwise, it was pretty much the same format in which we would release our exclusives and debut new products. The only difference is naturally no physical booths and being able to interface with everybody that we like seeing.
And we loved how you guys did everything. It blew a lot of us away. What I was wondering is, what were some of the major obstacles that you felt that you had to overcome, like shipping logistics, manufacturing, anything that was coming in from overseas was getting hugely delayed. So what were some of those major obstacles that you had to overcome?
Well, luckily we start planning every single one of the items that are specific for the show about a year in advance. So we were already well ahead of where we needed to be in terms of product development and actually manufacturing each one of the exclusives, than having to scramble or really face any challenges. So our timeline was perfect. We didn't really experience any delays in getting anything in. Of course, that's not to say that there aren't any challenges outside of that with normal product that we're developing at the moment. Everybody's feeling that the pandemic effects. But when it comes down to the exclusives, we're good. In fact, we have, I would say, a great deal of them in our warehouse now. We're just waiting for a couple to come in. And that's why we're going to start shipping a little later in August.
So one of the items that you guys released for Comic-Con was the Princess Bride puzzle. And that's one of my favorites. Can we get more puzzles? Like, puzzles every year? Multiple puzzles?
I don't see why not. Yeah, that was actually one of our favorites. And what's funny is that was a late addition to our list. We weren't planning on coming out with that until next year, but it was that one actually moved at an accelerated pace in terms of development and approvals. And we just thought, you know what, why not release it this year? So we put it on our slate about a week into our announcements already coming out. And I'm really happy you like it, James. It's one of my favorite pieces, and it's actually based on a piece of unique artwork that we got from the people who oversee the license.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about what is undoubtedly your most popular exclusive of the year and possibly ever, the teacups. Did you have any idea that those were going to be as popular as they were?
No idea at all. In fact, if you look at it from a certain point of view, it almost seems like we planned the whole execution, but it couldn't have gone more brilliantly. See, that's one of the benefits of being a small company, is being agile enough to make what I consider to be kind of an audible. We're sitting there when we release the Enterprise AT Cup, and the orders are just, well, first and foremost, we weren't even supposed to announce that up until a few days after it got posted. The fine folks over at Star Trek, they posted the article a little early. No complaints at all. Believe me, we're very appreciative of the support. But that, of course, led me to scramble and get everything up and running in terms of making the order available. Because Carrie, you sent me that email. It's like, hey, what's up? Is this supposed to be going on? Or you said that you saw it when I emailed you. And so we were able to put that out there. Anyways, long story short, the thing sold out in less than 24 hours. So we're like, well, what else can we do? Because there's people who are disappointed that they may have missed out on it. So we already had another teacup ready to go. And that was going to just sit in our warehouse for a year up until 21 when the next con was available. And so we made a quick collective decision to make that teacup available as a surprise announcement. And that one sold out in 2 hours. So to answer your question, nobody knew that they were going to sell out that quickly. It was a record for us, and we're super thrilled that it was as popular as it was. It's a great product.
It is a great product. Can you talk a little bit about the idea behind it, or just why you guys decided to make that particular exclusive?
Yeah, sure. Basically what it was is we were looking at prop replicas for Star Trek, and it just seems like one of the most obvious choices. And at the $30 to $35, depending on which one it was, seemed like something really affordable too for a lot of people. So it's not only a prop replica, but it serves obviously a purpose and a function because you can drink tea from it. And it's just such an iconic, each one is obviously iconic. So we decided to roll with it, and couldn't be more pleased with the results.
Yeah, I know we were talking about it a lot amongst ourselves because a lot of us are Trekkies. So if I remember correctly, the last time something like this was offered was when the movie was originally released in 1991. And considering it's the first thing you see at the beginning of Star Trek VI, that teacup, I personally, and I know a lot of us, thought it was a brilliant exclusive. So in that vein, what is it that you think makes a really good con exclusive?
That's a great question. You know, what I think makes it great con exclusive, and I think that my peers over at Factory Entertainment, they all kind of agree, is something that is unique, something that is not just a typical collectible, something that kind of ups the ante. And it's not just something ups the ante in terms of what it does and its purpose that it serves. So we try to find things that are a little bit more utilitarian or have an actual use. So to give you a quick example, you know, our Aquaman Trident cocktail fork set, which I actually have one right here. You know, it's just something fun and different and unique. And, you know, who doesn't want to have a cocktail or use it to put some cheese or some shrimp on? So, you know, to answer your question, it's just unique, different stuff that you otherwise wouldn't get anywhere else. And naturally, what ends up happening is it's almost kind of a test too, because we see some of these products like, okay, if it does well here, there might be viability out in the market in retail. And so, you know, there's a great deal of people who are interested in that type of thing. And then we see how it's going to perform elsewhere. And, you know, with a lot of this stuff, it's great.
Well, speaking of all those exclusives that you guys came out with, was there one particular one that was your favorite?
Oh, geez. For this year, I would probably say, I think it's a tie. I'm a big Wonder Woman fan. And the two that, I was responsible for developing these items. So we just came out with a new line called Scaled Prop Replicas. Basically, it's for people who love collecting prop replicas, but maybe they're short on space or they want to take their collecting and display it in places like an office or what have you. So we came out with a Wonder Woman variant gold God Killer scaled prop replica sword, as you can see here, and it features all of the fine detail on the sword from the 2017 movie, like the Amazonian text on the blade there, and it's great. It has a nice heft to it. But the other thing, talking about that thing that serves a unique purpose, is our Wonder Woman flying discs here. So it's actually based on the artwork from the shield from the movie, but it's a flying disc. And I'm personally, you know, beyond all the other disappointment and not being able to be at the convention hall this year, I'm a little upset because what we were hoping was people are going to unpack these in the convention hall and just start throwing them and pandemonium ensues. But
I don't think that Comic-Con would have appreciated that.
No.
It would have been awesome.
Probably not, but it would have been fun.
Absolutely. So
It would have gone over well with everybody else, but sorry.
No.
I wanted to talk about, I feel like a lot of attendees think that like you just think up an idea for an exclusive and then it just happens. You know?
Right.
Do you think there are any sort of common misconceptions that attendees or the general public have about toys and exclusives are made and work that you could sort of elaborate on? Do you sort of understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head when you said that it's just, you know, a lot of people think that it's easy. You just dream up an idea and you can produce it. It's not that easy. If it were, there would be like a lot of stuff that we would have come out with by now. There are all sorts of obstacles. It comes down to things like getting approval on the side of the brand. To give you a quick example, you know, when we were doing more of our Game of Thrones items, and we are going to come out with some more collectibles for Game of Thrones soon. We have them on our slate, but when Game of Thrones was still on the air, we were going to come out with a plush version of Ned's head, and I may have talked about this before. You know, just a plush version of his head, kind of like on a spike, his tongue hanging out and what have you. You know, we concepted it up, and of course, it was outright not approved on the side of the license. And that happens from time to time, even with things that are a little less kind of brutal, you know. So there's that hurdle. And then the other hurdle is, you know, the price of the products. Can we make something that is going to be reasonable for people in terms of what they're going to, you know, what they're going to have to spend? And we try to make things fair. We try to, you know, put our own expectation. If I'm, you know, I'm a collector naturally, I see something I want. How much is it going to cost? Is it something is it something that I'd be able to spend? And, you know, it's kind of a hard thing to do. And the other part of it too is also the limited edition nature of each one of these items. you know, if we need to bring the price down, naturally, we need to be able to manufacture more. And so since we're only typically producing like 1,000 or 2,000 of something, it becomes difficult to keep the cost in control. And so it kind of gets, it gets difficult to do that. I'm sorry, that's probably a little bit too much into how the sausage is made, so to speak.
No,
But
I think that stuff is really interesting. So hopefully other people do too.
yeah. But most of the time, though, we are very fortunate. We've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this for almost 15 years now. Barry's been doing it for quite some time. And the rest of the staff, you know, we're all industry veterans. So if we can dream it up, typically we can make it happen. But those are just some of the hurdles that we have to face.
So you mentioned you're a collector as well, which we can see all of your Haunted Mansion stuff back there, which is... do you think that as a collector, do you think that there's anyone else doing a great job in the virtual aspect we're in now with Comic-Con at home? Is there anything that you saw and you're like, that's awesome?
Oh, quite a few things. I mean, you know, Sideshow's virtual booths that they did, or not virtual booths, but their booth tour that they did, where they took everybody around the booth and they displayed, you know, all of the great products that they have available. I thought they were just killing it. They do a fantastic job in anything that they present. And it's always a pleasure to go to their massive booth on the exhibit floor every year and just my jaw drops every time I see whatever they're coming out with, or whatever Hot Toys is doing with any one of their figures. So that's one thing. In terms of exclusives, I mean, there's just been so many great ones. I think my favorite though was the Jurassic Park the figure that came in the what was it, the Barbasol can? Yes. Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. I mean, brilliant, just brilliant.
Yeah. And so I also wanted to mention congratulations, by the way, on the baby. I wanted to mention that.
Thanks so much. Yeah, he's currently napping at the moment, so luckily he's used to my voice now, so where I can be as loud as I want and he just sleeps right through it. I think that's a skill he's adopted quite early, so he's already used to ignoring me.
That's later.
Yeah, and as a dad, I can tell you right now, it doesn't get better. When they're teenagers, it just gets worse. Yeah, just smile and nod. That has gotten me through about 17, 18 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to also talk about the Back to the Future exclusive that you guys are doing this year, which I think is so cute. You guys have done Back to the Future exclusives now for a couple years now, but this year I feel like you did more than usual. Do you want to talk a little bit about that exclusive?
Yeah, sure. So it's a part of a new line that we're coming out with called CHS, which stands for Collector Home System. And I actually happen to have one right here. And so what's great about this is it comes in what we consider to be collector vintage style packaging. So as you can see, it kind of looks like the VHS, hence the CHS logo right there. And it looks like it's vintage. It kind of has the weathering on the sides, and it just looks like it's been stored, you know, and slightly used. But the great thing about it is it's a keychain set with an enamel pin. So you can see right here, that's what it looks like. So you have your enamel pin, your out-of-time license plate, and then your keychain where you have the time circuit, you have a little logo charm right here, and then the DeLorean. So what we're trying to do is create something that is collectible at a reasonable price point in collector packaging. And it's just a lot of fun. I mean, not everybody, but quite a few people now, as I saw with yesterday's great work, speaking of great exclusives, you know, is collecting enamel pins. So that's kind of our take on what we're doing there. But we're also putting in things like, you know, keychains. And we've had great success with our keychains in the past. And so we're just trying to figure out ways to provide some value and a kind of a mix in what we're doing.
Well, maybe next year we'll get a Back to the Future pen.
You know, it could happen.
Yeah, and I personally love your Back to the Future stuff. And a lot of people have like that one thing that makes it Comic-Con for them. So what's that one thing that completely encapsulates what it is to be at Comic-Con for you?
Lines.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Lines, yeah.
But yeah, lines typically for me, and then the off-site activations too. I was very fortunate these past couple of years to where my wife, Kirsten, went with me to the show, and we were able to break away from the booth and experience some of those things. And now it feels to me like that's the one thing you have to do at the show is experience some of those offsites, take some time out of your day to do it because it's so great. My favorite is still the one from The Good Place, when they did that full activation.
Where they took over the 10 fish.
Yes, exactly. And then you felt like you were literally in The Good Place. You were out there, and then each one of the actors started to kind of get more panicky as time went on, which was just a lot of fun.
That was insanely fun. I mean, they had shrimp you could ride. Like, who doesn't love that?
Oh yeah, I have a video of Kirsten riding the shrimp, going around and fanning herself with the shrimp fan. It was hilarious. I love it. It was so great.
I love it. Okay, well, unfortunately, I do think that we are out of time. But Tom, why don't you tell everyone where they can find Factory Entertainment and buy some of your awesome exclusives?
Sure. So you can follow us on all things social at Factory Ent. And you can also go to our website, factoryent.com. We currently have 15 different exclusives available, everything from Wizard of Oz to Back to the Future, as you've seen, Wonder Woman, Jaws, and a great deal of other things. We've already sold out of 2 of those exclusives like we talked about today, those Star Trek teacups, and we're about to sell out of some more. I will give you a hint, or not a hint, but if you're interested in that Jaws plush, I would suggest getting on it right now. We're about 85% of the way through on that, and it's going to sell out really soon. But anyways, factoryent.com is where we're at. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us, Tom. We love you.
All right. See you guys soon.
Bye. And coming up next, we have voice actor Darin DePaul. Darin, are you there?
There he is.
Aha.
And is he unmuted?
Oh, Darin, yeah, you're muted.
How's that?
Much better. Hey, Darin.
Things are very technical. How could you do this to me on an early Saturday? When I would have been there, this would have been my very first big San Diego Comic-Con panel for Halo Infinite. They just revealed on Thursday that I'm the big villain in that, and we would have been there, and it would have been so exciting, and I'm missing that. It's a pity.
I'm so sorry, but congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. It's crazy from the journey that we've gone when I first met you, going, I like this stuff. I'm a big geek. To now all these cool things that are happening. It's been an amazing, amazing ride. I can't believe it.
I wanted to talk about this. So we've talked about this before on the show, but you and I actually met at the blog's very first party, and I think 2014 maybe. And since then, like, you have just gone on to have this amazing career. So what is it like going from just a fan of Comic-Con to someone who's like actually a panelist now and who gets to go to promote things?
It's overwhelming and exciting, and getting to, again, like Adam and I, Adam McArthur, we were started to do improv at the beginning of this year together, and that ended. But what he said, it's getting to connect with people and thanking them for loving this thing that we love doing. That's just great. It's just a thrill. And then from that time where we like bonded over Broadway musicals, because I used to do theater, and we're like, hey, then this happens last year to go, hey, this character that people love that you do is now a Hasbro exclusive at Comic-Con. That you start to cry because you go, what did I do? How did that happen? It's really overwhelming is the word.
Well, it could not have happened to a nicer guy.
Gary Dixon.
You can pay me after. Don't worry.
I will indeed. No, it's been super cool, and I miss it. I mean, probably the next, what do we have, like, 10 minutes or so, we'll talk about how we miss Nerd HQ, because we bonded over Nerd HQ.
Yep.
And that was so special. And I miss, just the excitement and the photo opportunities. Just everywhere was an image that you could capture, and meeting people and talking and finding out what they like, and it's.
Well, let's just keep talking about Comic-Con for a minute. Do you have any, like, what are some of your favorite moments from Comic-Con?
Okay, so the last time I went, because I missed the last couple years, one of the last things I did on Sunday was we had breakfast together, and you were like, hey, we're going to do a prize meal. Do you want to, give the hints and be there? And that was so much fun just to be a part of it, because I used to listen to the podcast back in New York before I decided to come to Los Angeles and go, well, we'll be here 6 months. It's so hard to break in. And then crazy monster voice later, it worked. So that was great. I heard you asking if there was anyone I nerded out about. I think you asked Adam, and when he said Weird Al. And that same year, Matt Mercer and I were backstage. He was waiting for a Critical Role panel, and Terry Crews was backstage as well. And he and his son were big Overwatch fans. So he came over to us and was like, I bonded with my son over Overwatch. And Matt and I were like, can we have a picture? So that happens, that you meet people that you are fans of and they're fans of you. It's crazy. It's just nothing but joy.
It is nothing but joy.
But yeah, that time with the prize meal, and I was like, anybody will care? And people were like,
People absolutely cared, Darin. People cared.
It means a lot because, I would just wander. I love the offsite, as you know. Every offsite I love. There's a yogurt place across the street that every year it's like, hi, we're home. Just walking around, walking behind the convention center. It's beautiful there. Deb, my wife, had done a show. I may have been On Your Feet, the Gloria Estefan musical, and they played San Diego, and the convention wasn't there. And I'm like, I go by the convention center, like, nothing happened, and it's so sad. So I'm sure that's what it's like now. Is that? Oh, I saw you were showing there's a little shrine at the Tin Fin.
Yeah. A little shrine. Don't quite know how we feel about that because Comic-Con's not dead, but we won't go.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Because I was supposed to be at WonderCon too this year for the Warner Brothers Mortal Kombat animated movie. And I think I can say I'm in 3 more of them coming up. So probably maybe next WonderCon or next Comic-Con. I will be there with those because I know they tend to have panels. So that's very exciting. A lot of projects. It's crazy.
And obviously you are a fan as well. I mean, we're all fans, but I mean, you too, obviously. So what has happened, or has there been anybody that you specifically met at Comic-Con that you were really excited about, other than Carrie?
Terry Crews was great. I think that was the first time I met Paul F. Tompkins because I love the Thrilling Adventure Hour. And when we got to Los Angeles, when we moved in 2013, we put our bags down, and the next day we were heading to Comic-Con. That was the timeline of when we actually landed in Los Angeles. And I had met Hal Lublin through the Thrilling Adventure Hour in LA like that day. And he's going, we're doing stuff at Nerd HQ. We're going to have a live show. And through that, I got to meet, all that cast. But I've always loved Paul F. Tompkins, and that was a thrill. Just to meet everybody there. To meet Zach Levi on the street and have him be so kind and wonderful. And then again, flash forward and I do a voice in Shazam, or 3 voices. That made no sense. You go, now I'm in that movie that Zach Levi's in. You're going, what? And that was crazy, getting to do that and record that at Warner Brothers with 2 of the best voice actors in the business, Steve Bloom and Fred Tatasciore, who did the other sins. Yep. We were the 7 deadly sins. We were the creature voices of I don't know if it'll come over for the mic because it's more about the wizard lies. We get to do all those deep creaturey monster things. And Fred at one point went, because we were just making noises for when they got sucked back into the Staff of Power. And Fred said, would you like a Doppler effect? And the director said, sure. He goes, and do you want bubbles on top of the Doppler effect? And we're like, is he going to do it? And he does it. You're like, I am so happy to be in this room right now. I mean, when you know, when we get to play together as voiceover performers, that's the joy. You get to geek out about, again, these people that you love, their work, and watching them and how they craft it. And I got to do a show with Tom Kenny and got to work with Tom Kenny.
Wow.
And I was like bouncing up and down to make a noise because I played a little jackhammer truck. And he's like, well, when I do SpongeBob, I do that. I'm like, oh, of course, you know? So it's those little tricks that you learn from these people that you truly idolize. And it just goes on to, you know, make you happy, give you some joy. And I guess that's what Comic-Con's about. It's about joy. It's about panic. Am I going to get into it? It's about pictures of Carrie Dixon being taken by Joss in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that was just a moment. Only at Comic-Con.
Only at Comic-Con.
That's what's so exciting about it, because, you know, anything can happen there. Seeing cosplayers dressed as our characters and going, you put so much time and effort into that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, I loved doing that, just walking around and then seeing someone in an Overwatch cosplay and going, hi, I do the big German guy. Thank you very much. You know, but geeking out over them. Wasn't there someone that we passed, Carrie, with like an Overwatch t-shirt?
There was, and you like did the voice and then just kept walking and she like ran after you.
Isn't that crazy? But that we can give that much joy to someone. That's what those conventions are about. I mean, that's what I love about it. And BlizzCon has been that way. They've kind of made me this unofficial face of Blizzard Entertainment and getting to do that. But next year, we're going to do a big Comic-Con panel, I hope.
Yes, you guys need to.
Because I love it. I still have my exclusives that you gave me. That, remember when I won them? I would go to the parties.
Oh my God.
Nobody knew. I would go to your parties and you're like, here, have a ticket to win prize. I'm like, I shouldn't win prize. The entertainment exclusive Joker thing.
No, I remember this though, because I don't remember who won first, but like you won and then immediately after Deborah won or something.
Yeah.
Or it was first. Yeah. I remember that.
This massive like Batman action figure set.
I love that you actually kept it. That makes me happy.
Oh yeah, they're in our living room. That is the geek that I am.
I love it. Okay, well, to take things in another direction, Andy, I think you had a question.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm
at the beginning, you're kind of bemoaning technology a little bit. How has the whole pandemic and quarantine made you have to sort of adapt? Have you been able to continue doing your voiceover work, or have you had to adapt your home studio for other things?
Okay, not only am I working almost every day, every week in our bedroom with a Sennheiser 416, you know, auditioning and doing that. I'm very lucky to work all the time. I'm also doing facial capture in my bedroom for things. They will say, have your wife make you up. Here is the thing of the dots. We need you to go out in a pandemic and get Pop-Tart boxes because they help the camera focus. So you have to do with this. And then get a ring light, have a camera here and a camera there. You have iPhones, right? Set them up professionally. And we'll do, you know, we make it happen. I panic and Deb is like, we can do it. But done that, we've had some studios will send a whole kit. Like 3 Rode boxes. I'm like, I have a great mic. They love the sound. Like, nope, we're sending you a mic stand, a backing, a computer. This computer will hook up to us remotely so we can make it happen. Everyone is adapting to create during this time because we're doing a lot of animation and games, and we can still do that if we have a good sounding, you know, studio at home. And I've been lucky enough that works. So a lot of big stuff is gonna be done, and they're like, "Yeah, that was in my bedroom." You know?
Have the neighbors said anything?
Not yet, but I'm doing Hulk in the new Avengers game, and we have done sessions, and one of them was that facial capture thing. So, you know, and cover your ears because, you know, you're in your bedroom going, Hulk smash! You know, and they're probably going to call. There are a lot of helicopters here in Los Angeles. They probably added a couple for like, why is the Hulk in my neighborhood? And yet I have a pocket handkerchief. That's me.
Well, speaking of roles, you just did your first full performance capture, motion capture role for Halo Infinite.
Yes.
What is that experience like, and how is it different from just straight voice acting?
It's the full thing. I loved it. I went 3 times to Seattle to do it with other performers, and I'd never done it before. It's like theater. Since I had done Broadway and theater, it's like a black box theater experience. But you've got all the dots, you've got cameras everywhere, and you think that, okay, I can just do this. It's like, no, definite movements work better. If you're doing that, that's a strong move for the camera to capture. If you're doing that, not as strong. So there's still so much that I could learn. And again, I was geeking out about Jen Taylor, who's the voice of Cortana. I was like, oh, I get to meet her? That's so cool. And it was fantastic. I loved it. And then seeing it on Thursday, the final reveal of what we did the very first time, going, they got it. They got the smile, because in order to do Escherum's voice,
you see the voice here. It'll always be there. That sort of half smile.
And they captured it. I was like, it's so cool. I loved it. I was very, very lucky. And that'll be out, I think it's holiday this year. That's coming out. And Avengers is out in September. Next Saturday, I have a guest voice on Big City Greens for Disney.
That's fun. Yeah.
And then I'm back with, I'd been in 3 Below, the Guillermo del Toro series on Netflix. And now there's Wizards. And I'm returning as a different character that I think people will enjoy.
Well, that's awesome. I love that you have so much coming up. But let's go back a little bit. A lot of people in our world of Comic-Con know you, I think, from Critical Role.
Yay!
And there's a really fun story behind your character Sprig. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. Okay. This is how old I am. Back when I was in my 20s, I was an apprentice at the Burt Reynolds Theater. Mr. Reynolds, who was a big actor in the 80s and 90s, and he opened a theater, and I'm a Florida boy, so it was open to Florida students, and you worked a year in theater. You ran the lights, you did the props, you learned everything about theater. And he would come in, Dom DeLuise, Sally Field, a lot of people would do shows there. You took classes from them. One of the other apprentices was to become Matt Mercer's mother. And in between shows, we would play D&D. We just got excited about it. And I had a big crush on Laurie, and I was like, oh. And so I played this character, Sprig the Obnoxious. I just rolled the name. It was like, you'll roll the dice, you'll get your first name and your last name. So it was Sprig the Obnoxious. Made him a gnome. At that point, I think it was an illusionist thief. And played him. He lived. The entire party died. Flash forward to meeting Matt and him seeing a picture of us with Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton and Jim Nabors going, why are you in a picture with my mother? And finding out that history, Matt asking me to be on the show. And I said, could I do Sprig from 37 years ago? He didn't die. Can we bring him back? And it became this really important episode for me, and because it was joyful, it was sad, it meant a lot to people, and it's just one of the favorite things that I've done in something that I did for fun in the early 80s, in like 80, 81, became, eventually something through history that still
I think
connected.
that's just so cool.
Yeah, and going to his wedding and seeing Laurie and just reminiscing and going, what we did, it made a difference all those years ago. And Critical Role is just gone crazy. And those were great years. I miss those desperately. We were really doing some wonderful creative stuff at Geek and Sundry. It was an exciting time. But now we do different things.
Yes.
Hello, there are people walking by.
Speaking of neighbors, so you said that was one of your favorite roles. Is that your absolute favorite role, or is there another role that just stands out that you say, yes, that's my best work?
I'm very lucky in that I play some very interesting ones. And with theater, I always believe that when you're doing the role, that's where you walk in the booth, you give it everything that you have here and here. And at that moment, it is your favorite role. I mean, if we're talking Reinhardt, he's such a hero. He's so glorious. He connects with children, adults. He's nothing but good. I love that. If you're talking about Escharum, he's a villain with a twist. You'll find out. That was super cool. Doing Arden Azunia for Final Fantasy, a role I didn't think I'd do. I was like, oh, he's too pretty. I could never play that guy. And they loved the voice and getting to be grand and theatrical. I get to play some super cool characters. And it's always the next role that surprises you. This year, I will say, I have a game coming out next year where I think I'm only doing Raven noises. And I loved it. Because they're like, Raven sounds different than a crow, but we want to be able to convey emotion. And you just, do an audition. And they're like, yeah, you're our Raven noise guy. I'm like, oh. So you start studying and going, oh, they kind of go, ah, ah, ah. And instead of, ah, ah, it's like, it's crazy what we do, that we're adults with pocket handkerchiefs. And we go, yeah, I got a Raven noise in my back pocket. So that was exciting. Getting to do J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man game was an absolute thrill because he has massive blocks of text because he's doing his podcast. And Chris Zimmerman, the director, went, you come from theater, you understand this guy. We are not going to show you any of the material before we start. We hit record, we flash it on the screen, and go. Ride the wave of the line. And I loved that direction. That's like a favorite moment in the booth. And most of those are first takes that you hear because it's coming from an improv theater background. It's like, okay, commit, make strong choices, bang, bang, live and breathe that character in that moment. So there's so many favorite moments and some to come up that I will talk about maybe next year at this time when I can go, can you believe that happened? So
can't wait.
I know it's super cool and crazy. And I just geek out like you guys. Getting to see you was always a treat, and that we could share and go, what panel? When we got to watch the Muppets, or
yes,
got to see at Nerd HQ Bobak Ferdozi, and have a NASA panel. It's that stuff, the stuff that you wouldn't expect. You're like, I love this now. We got turned on to Outlander because of SDCC. We're like, oh, I love this. Deborah's read all the books. We watched the show. That's what it's about.
It's just the magic of Comic-Con.
Yeah, and it really is. That's not a word that's overused. It's pretty magical.
It really is, yeah.
And there's a prize mule.
There is a prize mule. Right here. James is one as well in his background. But real quick, I wanted to ask you, because I know, like you said, you are a big geek about Comic-Con, but you're also, I know you love many of the artists there. Who are some of your favorite artists from Comic-Con?
Every year I would buy a new Justin Harder piece. And I loved his work. I found it very, very, very unique. And over here, there's like Justin, there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 14 Justin Harder pieces because every year we'd go back and I'm like, oh, well, I got to have Thor. Oh, I got to have Princess Leia. Oh, now I need the Rocketeer. The Rocketeer was the first one we bought.
Nice.
So I loved Justin Harder. But getting to like Stan Sakai, Usagi, getting to meet him, I fanboyed out about. I was like, that kind of stuff.
And they're like the nicest people, right?
Everybody is in the business because, again, I think we're all just big geeks who truly love what we do, and getting the chance to thank people and share the joy of it and go, I love this, this game that I'm doing, or this animation, or this artwork. I hope you like it too. If you do, let's talk about it. If you don't, hey, right over there's something you're going to adore. Everybody's welcome. Come in and geek out because that's what it's for.
Absolutely. And if you'll notice my background, I'm quite a big fan of Justin Harder myself. I have a lot of his stuff. I booth paid him for him last year at WonderCon and Comic-Con, just because I love hanging around him. And when I was a kid, I used to sell stuff with my grandmother at flea markets. So it's just hanging out, selling this stuff for him. He's a great guy, and it's just a blast.
Yeah. At just getting to, it's visiting family. It's like, there's Justin. Hi, where's your booth this year? I love that. So next year we'll do it, and hopefully we can all be together. I hope it happens, because it's been too long. And it would be nice to celebrate, have one of those big parties that drives Carrie crazy because she works way too hard on it.
Last year was not so bad. We did it on Sunday night. So I was like, instead of Wednesday. So we actually got to go to preview night for the first time in like 7 years. So that was fun. But yeah, fingers securely crossed for 2021. Darin, unfortunately, we are out of time.
We love you all.
Yes, we love you as well. Why don't you tell everyone real quick where they can find you online?
I'm Darin.
Want to give a little bit more than that?
Darin DePaul. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Darin DePaul. That's me. And there is a little, I used to say, hi, I'm Darin a lot at Geek and Sundry, and someone made a little logo. So you'll see the little logos like, hi, I'm Darin. And it'll have a tie and a jacket because I'm that guy. Mark Gagliardi from the Thrilling Adventure Hour said, you are you're the voice dandy of Hollywood. And I loved that. So thank you for letting me be a part of this. And until we meet again,
Hulk smash! Reinhardt says goodbye.
And J. Jonah Jameson says, do not trust Spider-Man. He's a threat and a menace. Back to you.
All right. I'm going to go get pockets.
Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.
Bye. And now it is time for our very last guest, Mr. Todd Masters of Toddland, coming to us live from San Diego.
And I think someone we know is with them, right?
I don't know. You there, Todd?
He's probably buying a burrito or something.
Text him. We're like 5 minutes late, so I'm sure.
I mean, I can't blame him. It's San Diego. You got to get a burrito.
Absolutely. There we go. Hey, Todd.
I was muted and not videoing, and I'm like, I'm not getting a burrito. That's after.
So, can I just say that I love that you actually went to San Diego? Bless you.
I mean, literally, what else do we have to do for the next 6 to 9 months? Like, I could drive to San Diego and just, I'm here. What else is going on?
That's wonderful. All right. Is it weird, though, being there, like, at Comic-Con week, but without 130,000 people?
Yeah, I mean, you guys know exactly where I'm standing.
Yes.
So let me show you exactly where I'm standing. And that's pretty weird. And, like, there's
really weird.
The giant building with wraps that aren't on it. And let me walk you over to the Hall H line on Saturday right now and show you what it looks like. It's it's right there. So
it's just sad.
It's a little weird, but like it's kind of there's some cosplayers walking around.
That's fun.
And that's kind of cool, and like a bunch of weirdos all made badges, and like I got my little San Diego t-shirt on, and it's cool. Like there's not a lot of people out, but everybody I'm kind of in the spot bumming everybody out because everybody keeps running over and taking the same picture I have of Hall H. But yeah, I mean it's cool. There's not a lot of people. I think everybody's just bored. I mean there's cosplayers out. Like that's how bored everybody is.
Hey, we're gonna get our Comic-Con fixes wherever we can get them.
Right? That's why I'm like everybody's just kind of wondering like what do we do? Like everybody's kind of lost. It's like the Comic-Con apocalypse. Like where I have a Harley Quinn mallet, but what do I do with it? And there's cosplay girls just looking and not getting any attention. So like you kind of feel bad for them. Like you pushed your boobs up into that shirt and nobody's here to give you attention. I feel bad. Like so that's happening. But you know, it is what it is.
It is. Well, on a more serious note, all right, let's talk about your exclusives, which are amazing. So for anybody who doesn't know, you do the exclusives every year for Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, American Dad, and they are always amazing. But this year, I feel like you took a really interesting approach with the designs because you looked at what the characters would have been doing this year during our weird non-con, basically. Just talk a little bit about that. Like, how did you come up with that idea?
So we always start designing like a year in advance, but then we never really do anything till a couple weeks before. So like we're able to adapt and be pretty nimble with stuff. So I mean, up until like 2 months ago, we were still having a con. So we had a lot of stuff planned and everything, and then this whole pandemic happened, and we're like, well, how do we play with it? Like, how do we address it? So like even like my shirt, every year we do this shirt with like the road to San Diego with like Stewie and Brian, and they get to go to Comic-Con, and they take Rupert, and they're all excited. And this year, well, they can't go. So what are we doing? Well, Stewie's probably going to have his own con. So Stewie had StewieCon in his room, and he has Rupert, his teddy bear, signing autographs, and he's selling $18 hot dogs. And he has a not so special guest. He has Meg, who's terrible. So like he had his own little con, because we're like we like to treat the characters like they're real people. So like since Stewie and Brian can't go to Comic-Con this year, like Stewie's gonna have his own. And then for Bob's Burgers, since they didn't get to go to San Diego this year, Louise, the little grifter that she is like, we're having our own con. We're gonna have Burger Con, and it's gonna be in front of the restaurant, and we're gonna do that. And then she's selling all of her toys for like $700 and like ridiculous markups. And she's got Andy and Ollie selling like their own art. I think she has a meet and greet with Mr. Business. And Linda's just there in a Burger Con shirt showing support, and Bob's just handing out burgers because he doesn't really know what's going on. So we like to, since we've taken the characters to Comic-Con the past few years, like this year they aren't allowed to go. So like we wanted to give the fans a chance to be like, this is what they're doing. Like they're at home too. And then we did there's another shirt. We're calling it the online social meeting streaming thing for legal reasons. But you guys know what we're talking about. Yes. I'm broadcasting at it right now. But yes. it's all the characters from Bob's, and they're all interacting with each other. And it's pretty cool because if you look at each panel of the graphic, like you can see Jimmy Jr.'s like got his back to the camera, but Tina has the reflection of his butts in her glasses. And then there's like Bob and Linda are like on one, and Linda's drinking wine, and she's all excited and doesn't know what's going on. And then Teddy's outside with his mask down around his neck because he doesn't know how to wear a mask. And if you look in the background of that, you can see Bob and Linda because they kicked him out of the restaurant, and he's standing in the front. So it's just we wanted to kind of address what's going on, but we didn't want to bum anybody out. We didn't want to make face masks. Like we kind of wanted to keep it light and fun because you're like, yeah, this sucks. We're all in it. Like even Louise and Jimmy Jr. are live streaming. Like this is where we're at this year. Oh, and we did our burger of the day this year is the SoCal distancing burger served with avocado 6 feet apart because we're all from SoCal right now, except for us because we're here. But everybody's like, that's pretty clever. It's like social distancing. We're like, yeah, we know. And they're like, yeah, and SoCal's like Southern California. I'm like, yeah, we know. Yeah. And avocados are California. And we're like, yeah. You pretty much nailed that concept. Like, did you guys know you did that? No, not at all.
Well, in that same vein, one of our readers on Twitter, Gamma Ray SD, said that they absolutely love the way that you always incorporate the city of San Diego into your exclusives, like the Bob's Trolley t-shirt, or my personal favorite, Consuela, which I still have that pin and love it. So what do you look for in terms of picking a location?
So with the location, it's pretty much based on like where the con is. So if we're in San Diego, we try to do something with San Diego, and like what's iconic about San Diego? Well, it's the sales pavilion, or it's the shape of the building, or it's Hall H. WonderCon has the fountain. So like the giant fountain at WonderCon in the front. WonderCon's known for the food trucks because that's where everybody eats, and they're known for the fountain where all the cosplayers take a picture. So that year we did Bob's taking their food truck and they crashed it into the fountain because WonderCon's about the food trucks and WonderCon's about the fountain. And then for Consuela, like one, she's got con in her name, so it's super funny. But that was also like the year we were doing like the border wall thing and all that stuff. So of course, and everybody's trying to sneak into Comic-Con. So, and we're in San Diego, like on the border with Mexico. So Consuela is of course hopping the border wall to sneak into Comic-Con, and like, it all just kind of comes together. Like we're just like, oh, what would be funny? What would the characters do? Well, of course, Consuela would try to sneak into Comic-Con. What's iconic about San Diego? Well, it's the shape of the building. And I think you guys have seen that too with the yesterday's pin, the I Miss SDCC pin. Yes. Like they've got the heart shape of that. And that's probably the exclusive of the con. Like we love our stuff, but that's probably the get. And everybody loves it because you know that building. So like that's what we always try to incorporate into our stuff is like, what do the fans know? What do the fans like? Like we like the building. We make fun of the Hall H line. Like we make fun of $18 hot dogs. Like we're fans. Like this is what we want to do. Like we waited in these lines. We waited in these panels.
And I think that may kind of lead into our question for about the timed release for your exclusives this year, which are available through Sunday at 9 p.m. When did you, or why did you decide to go that route instead of actually an edition size?
A couple reasons. One of the main reasons, like business-wise, is we don't know how many we're going to sell. So like at Comic-Con, we pretty much know exactly what we're going to do every year. Like we're pretty consistent. Like we know what our numbers will be, but we don't have anybody walking up to the booth this year to buy stuff. So that changes our number. But then again, everybody in the country is able to order it and get it shipped. So we don't know if we can sell 100 or something, or if we can sell 1,000 or something. So you guys want a picture? I'll get out of the way for you. Sorry. I'm hogging Hall H. We'll move it this way. But I'm over here now. But but with the open edition thing, like we get frustrated because we're on the same websites everybody else is, like F5, and like trying to find the links before they go live and trying to get everything. And we don't want to be that source of stress for anybody for the con. We want to sell you stuff. And I don't make any money if it goes on eBay. So like, we want to make sure everybody has a chance to get it. We want them to go over and raid Hallmark and raid Funko and go to Super 7 and get everything you want there first. And then when you feel like it, pop over to our site, order some stuff. You'll get the t-shirt size you want. You get all that stuff. It'll work out pretty well. Like I know Mondo, a lot of their stuff isn't shipping till October, and they're doing some time releases. And like our stuff, I think we've got everything at 2 to 4 weeks shipping. But again, it's not like we're going anywhere. Like at con, you want it, and you want to show everybody your tote bag, and you want to wear your pin. We're not going anywhere for another month. So like just hang out at home. We'll get you your t-shirt, and we'll go from there. But the timed release, I think, from looking online, everybody's responded awesome to it. Because with us, nobody really cares if it's a limited edition of 100. They just want their stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna obviously things will change as we go forward, but I think we might try to mix it up a little bit more. Like maybe for the con releases, we'll do like a convention release online that's available for everybody. And then 90% of the stuff will be con only. So we might give some people a chance to get something. Like maybe it's a t-shirt in a different color. Like the red will be available for everybody and the blue you can only get at con. So I think we're gonna play with that a little bit.
Well, now that, I mean, we're pretty deep here into Comic-Con at home, and like you said, you're a fan as well. You've bought several things, but in looking at just what other companies have been doing, who do you think like really knocked it out of the park this year besides yourself?
Online, I think visually, like Mondo tees. I mean, we're full disclosure, we're friends with Mondo, but I got the foil print without even calling in a favor. So like legitimately I F5'd on that one and it was like squeak. But honestly, Mondo is always super slick. Like their site's beautiful. I've heard the streaming they did yesterday was great. Mondo's done an excellent job online, and they always do. They've been really good. We like them. Yesterday's is really good. Like for another little small vendor, they've had some good exclusives this year. Like they've been pretty cool. And it seems like I think the brands in the booths that are like our size, like not super tiny, but not huge.
Yeah.
This is kind of our sweet spot because we don't get enough sales to crash our sites, and we are tiny, but we make a lot of noise for like 2 weeks and then we go away. Like, I think it's really hard for like the Funkos and the Hasbros and those guys of the world because there's so much demand. That I mean, there's bandwidth issues. Like it's like trying to buy Super Bowl tickets. Like you just can't. Like,
yep.
But yeah, I think Mondo's done a great job. Fat Rabbit is always super fun. We love those guys. Klaus, Justin Harder's awesome. Like he's always fun. Like he's just like, hey, we're adding this to the site now. You're like, okay. Like, so I think that's what we can do as smaller vendors. You're like, oh yeah, this is happening. Like yesterday's pin sold out. Yeah, I miss SDCC and everybody had a meltdown. And then today he's like, oh, it's back up. And I think that's something we can all do being our size, that the big guys can't do. Like I know our SoCal Burger of the Day pin, I put up a certain number of it thinking that's about what we'll do. And it was gone the first day. So I was like, all right, well, I'll add another 300 and it's on there. So the fans didn't even know it sold out originally and it just keeps going through. So when we close everything out tomorrow night, I'll put the edition sizes up so people will know, because some people will be stoked and some will be like, wait, there's only 75 of that pin. Well, I want it now. Well, you had a week to buy it. So that's kind of fun for us too. So like, I know there's only 50 of something and I know there's 1,000 of other things, but that's kind of the fun part. So it's like with us, you have a window to order it, and when it's gone, it's gone.
So now, speaking of your booth and booth size, you released images this year of your dual booth that would have been, that I would have hung out at. Can we still hope to see that next year? Dare we hope to see that next year?
As of right now, it's the same footprints. Like, I'll say that. It's the same footprints, and then the booth we were going to build for this year is tentatively on hold pending upon what we do next year. Because as you guys know, there is a Bob's Burgers movie coming out, and it was supposed to be out last week. So if there was a Bob's Burgers movie coming out last week and we have that giant of a footprint on the floor, you can probably guess what the booth was leaning towards. But the movie got pushed. I think it's pushed to spring officially. And then I know the movie schedule got pushed again yesterday or 2 days ago. And I don't know where we're at on the release schedule now. So right now, it all depends on when the movie comes out. If it comes out in spring, you might see part of that booth at WonderCon. If it gets pushed further than that, then you can probably expect that to be one of the things for Comic-Con. So we basically got 4 10x10s across from each other. So we have an aisle so we can kind of play, which, I mean, I think everybody knows there's 2 restaurants across the street from each other at Bob's Burgers. And then we've also got Family Guy and American Dad. And there's also a movie coming out. And we've also got a couple new shows that we're adding for next year. So there's some big stuff that we're up to. That it's we can't talk about it yet, and you guys will have the info first anyways, but we're up to Toddland's evolving. Like, we're going to be annoying year round now instead of just for cons. So you'll see probably new releases from us for probably 2 to 4 shows each month until the end of the year now. So starting in September, when shows start airing, you'll start seeing new stuff from us.
That's amazing, and annoy us all that you want.
Yes, please do. Definitely.
We had a question in the chat, and Let Us Catch Up wants to know, what made you choose Ken as part of your Bob's Burgers release? It's such a deep dive character.
Yeah, so Ken's a real deep cut. And I think I love Ken, and I think he's been mentioned like 5 or 6 times, and every time they mention him, he gets more and more ridiculous. Like, Ken is kind of like Linda's friend. I forget her name, but Linda talks to her on the phone and leaves her messages, but they never show her, and the fans love her. And Ken, we've only ever seen in Gene's one drawing, and everybody loves Ken. And I think Ken's hilarious. He's a 28-year-old albino hip-hop dancer with a MySpace page and a GoFundMe. Like, that's an amazing character because he just keeps getting more and more ridiculous all the time. And Bob's like, who's that? He's like, oh, that's Ken. He's my 28-year-old friend, albino hip-hop dancer. And he's like, you weren't allowed to have a 28-year-old albino friend. And that's super funny. So we did it, and we put it in, and everybody's like, wait, you're really making Ken? Do you think he needs a t-shirt? I'm like, oh no, he absolutely doesn't need a t-shirt, but we're doing it anyways. And the show's like, okay, go for it. Like, they like the deep cuts. Like, one of our #1 t-shirts is the Madness Castle t-shirt. Like, the tie-dyed from the episode where they go to the roadside attraction. That shirt's another super deep cut, and we sell hundreds of them. So everybody who didn't get it for WonderCon that missed it was like, can we have it? I'm like, yeah. So like, we're not above going beyond super obscure characters like Ken and Madness Castle. And I know there's a push. We have it on the drawing board at work. We just haven't figured it out yet. There's an episode where Bob drinks out of this hollowed out like wooden iguana at a frat party. And everybody in the office wants us to make the hollowed out iguana that you can drink out of for con next year. That'll absolutely not sell anything. And it'll cost us thousands of dollars to make, but it's not a no because we think it's funny. So you never know what we're going to make. And we listen to the fans. Like, we know the fans like Ken. We know they like Gail. Nat was a big ad this year though. So like Nat, we've got it in a couple things because everybody loves Nat. Like, she's the new everybody's favorite. So, and I know she's in the Pride graphic that's coming out for August too. So we pushed Pride from June to August. So all that stuff should be up August 1st.
Speaking of how you're having to move things around and what people want, how does licensing things work with these guys? I mean, how early do you have to start planning? I mean, do you just like show it to them and they give you a yes or no?
So we've been working with the shows for 6 years, 8 years now. And we're I don't want to say they use kid gloves with us, but we're kind of a special case for them. Because we work with the shows directly. So most people will work with the network and the network works with the shows. But with us, they text us because we know them. Like, we're friends with them. So like the other night there's a new big project that we're trying to make happen. And they were like, hey, what do you think of this? And it's like 12:30 on a Wednesday night. And I'm like, are you asking me? Because we're in. And they're like, well, yeah, we just kind of wanted to know if you're in on this. And I'm like, yeah, when is it? And they're like, as soon as we can do it. Like, all right, killer. So like everybody's supposed to, we should be planning about a year out. And then in order to get things through the approvals and the right systems and everything, you need usually 3 to 4 months of approvals from when it's done. So like it's done, we submit it. So all of our Comic-Con stuff should be in and done by like March. But we're kind of a goofy special case. So they kind of let us bend the rules a little bit. They're like, yeah, Todd came up with this yesterday. Can we change it? Yep. And like we did like the Pride graphic this year, everybody's using the equality flag. There's the trans equality like chevron that's in the Pride flag now. And all the original graphic we did for Pride was just the Pride flag. And then Bob's called us and they were like, hey, can we change it to this graphic? And within 20 minutes, everything was changed. Whereas like at Big Guys, that's going to take 6 months and new approvals and stuff. And Bob's is like, hey, we like this better. Can we change the art? I'm like, yeah, go for it. And we can do it. So that's I think the magic of us being the size we are, and then working directly with the shows, because that helps a lot. Like so we've done stuff in 24 hours before. Like they'll text me and be like, can this happen for tomorrow? And I'm like, yep. And we'll have it online and it's selling, and our printer can print t-shirts in like 2 days. So like we can move really, really fast. We're not supposed to, but we can.
That's good. I mean, it's good that you're so flexible and adaptive to all that stuff. So you're obviously down there at the convention center right now. What exactly do you miss being there with no physical con?
So the weirdest, like, it's hard because everything kind of unfolded all week, like with what we'd missed and like, oh, we don't miss setup. We kind of do. Like, I don't miss getting yelled at by the fire marshal. I kind of do because I don't like it. Like, and like, it's always this stuff every year. But the thing we miss the most, honestly, is the people.
Yeah.
Like, thankfully, we get to interact. We get to see you guys. Like right now, I'm seeing you guys, and like everybody's been on Twitter all week, back and forth, and like we're interacting with a lot of the same fans we see in person on Twitter. But honestly, that's been the hardest thing. Is just you miss the people, and as selfish as it is, I miss the hugs, and I miss the cupcakes, and I miss the cookies, and I miss like when we go in and check out, we get our badges, and I get the stuff we need every day upstairs in the morning. Like I miss those ladies screaming and running behind the counter and hugging me, like because they're friends. Like everybody started as like a fan or like somebody we worked with and stuff, and over the years you get to know everybody, and you miss them. Like, so it's funny because like we have traditions. So I think Thursday night is always pizza battle. So we go to Luke Chu's Monkey King party where they do the art battle every year. So like it's always the same crew of us that go. So everybody started texting that night, and they're like, "Is everybody eating pizza right now? Like, is everybody doing this?" And you're like, "Oh, oh, it's pizza battle night." So everybody started sharing like all the pizza pictures, and you're like, "That's pretty awesome." And then it was like, "All right, well, Friday night's Funko night. All right, what are we doing? All right, everybody share all the Funko pictures you got." So like the crew I go to Fun Days with every year, we all started sharing that stuff. So that's pretty cool. But you miss the people. Like the convention hall sent out that stupid tearjerker video that was just no one of us were ready for. Like nobody was ready for that. I'm like, you assholes. And you're like, I'm not crying. You're Comic-Con. Like, you're like, son of a bitch. Like it was perfect. Like they did an absolute excellent job because that's what it is. It's the cosplayers and it's the people. And that's what this is. Like I'm part of a couple communities. Like I go to Burning Man and it's the same thing. Like we're sad Burning Man's not happening, but that's just a physical spot. Like it's the people you miss. You miss your burners. Like we miss our cosplayers. That's the thing that we weren't ready the most for. Like it's weird walking around here without any people, but we also come in on Monday usually. So this is usually Monday, Tuesday for us. So honestly, it just feels like con's in 2 days. Like walking around here, I'm like, okay, cool. Con's gonna start in 2 days. Like I gotta take the U-Haul back right now, and I gotta go park the car. And, oh God, did we check into the hotel yet? Like that's the anxiety I have right now. But that's not real. So it's super weird to be like, all right, where's the truck? Oh, we don't have the truck. Okay, so that's what's kind of weird. Like to us, it feels like a Monday. Like we're getting ready to load in, and just we're not going to.
I've been talking all week. I mean, I feel like I've teared up at the weirdest stuff. Like somebody posted a video of like the train like at night, and I like started tearing up. But I think it's because for like panels and exclusives, like we have it's not exact, but we have some sort of substitute. But there's not really a substitute for, like you said, the people, or even like the location. You know, like I realize you're down there, but not all of us are. But yeah, I mean,
and I hate to say it, but and I hate to say it, this is probably the most perfect weather week we've ever had for Comic-Con. Like, it's like 72 and there's a slight breeze. Like,
I wasn't
right
going to
now.
bring
Like,
that up, Todd. I was going to just keep my camera on me, not the beautiful SoCal weather. You know, it's bad enough.
On that one, Todd. Just keep rolling.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little breezy. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll put on a light jacket tonight. But yeah.
Lord.
But
Okay.
yeah,
well,
but that's the thing. Like, the panels have been good. Like, this is the first year as a vendor we've ever gotten to see panels, which is awesome. So like I got to watch the Charlize Theron panel was amazing. Like, that was super good. I think it was called like Action Hero Badass Chicks.
I think it was like Evolution of a Badass or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. That one was good. And then the Bob's one, obviously we're biased. So like the Bob's one we loved. Robot Chicken, we're biased for that too. But like Robot Chicken was super fun. Katie Sackhoff was hilarious on it. Brecken and Seth and Matt are always great on that. And then I like that you can log back in later and watch them.
Yeah.
So like I know the Family Guy panels, Guy panels right now. So I'll watch that after this, which is great. I'm like, can they do this every year? But I mean, I guess it takes away some of the magic of it. But like, if you're not in Hall H, I don't know. It's kind of nice to be able to log in a week later and watch the panel. Like, we never get to go.
I completely agree. And I mean, we've talked about this. Like, I mean, there are some like logistical things, like studios show footage so often live that I don't know that they would necessarily want to put up on YouTube. But in general, yeah, like even if they took that footage out, like this has been so nice just to have this stuff. And they record Ballroom 20 in Hall H anyway. Like, let's just put it up on Twitter or on YouTube in the future. Yeah. Come on, kids.
Yeah.
All right.
And everybody broadcasts everything this year too. So I know, like with all of our shows, with Bob's, Family Guy, and American Dad, there's already clips of next season up.
Yeah.
That are now streaming, but it's a 2-second clip. Like, and they're not going to share anything that can't be shared. So like, if you share a clip of Gene dragging his butt around the living room like a dog, that's not going to ruin the show. Like, it's going to make me want to go see the rest of the episode. Like, it's I don't know. I think there's. I don't want to say this is good in any way, but I think things will evolve from it that could be pretty cool in terms of just making it more fan friendly. Like, I think a lot more companies are going to do more limited time releases after seeing how that works. And I think like more people will do more stuff online for that. So it's definitely going to be, there's a lot of changes, but we're definitely all in, ready to go for next year. And if we have to pivot again, we've done it once, we can do it again. Like, we're not going anywhere. Like, we're going to keep doing this. So our next con is Designer Con right now in November, I think. And that's still tentative. So like, I'm not sure. We'll make the game time call for that when it comes to it. Because we're not going to put any of our fans in danger to get a pin. And then no matter how much I love everybody, we see 2,000 people a day. I'm not having 2,000 people a day breathe on me or my crew. No. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, we'll do something funny. Like, we'll build like a radioactive booth with like the rubber gloves that you got to reach through and do things. If we do it, but like, I don't want to do that. Like, we're also thinking about building it like a bank teller window where like you buy a pin, you slide it under the thing, and then we do it underneath another one and slide it back over to them. So there's no contact. We're also working on with cameras
to make sure they maintain that distance.
Yeah. So it'll be far enough away where like we'll have the, I don't know, I think Exploding Kittens usually does it. They have like a basket on a stick that almost looks like a collection plate from church, and they like slam that thing out at people and they take money and then they pull it back into their booth. I'm like, that's pretty funny. So there's ways we may do it, but like our main thing is like we want everybody to be safe and healthy and their loved ones, and want them to come back next year. So if we have to skip a couple cons and do it online, we will. But right now, I think we're already paid for WonderCon and next year's Comic-Con, so we're not going anywhere. If anything, this just made us want to go bigger to welcome everybody back. So like, there'll be more stuff, and like, it's not, oh, poor us. It's like, nope, it's foot on the gas. Like, we're going bigger because now we have a welcome back party because nobody's seen us for 2 years. So that's where we're going. So I think there's a way to do this. And still stay positive about it and be like, all right, let's do this. We're doing this. Like, now we want all the cast every day in the show, in the booth. We want everybody to do a bigger panel. Like we want Hall H to be bigger. I mean, I don't know what new medias there's going to be next July because there's literally nothing getting filmed.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have our own Netflix show by then because I think they'll just pick up any content. So who knows?
There you go. Okay, well, we had a reader question. Adam Wilson on Twitter wanted to know, is there any update on a Family Guy, American Dad, Bob's Burgers subscription box?
Not a box. So what we are going to be doing is we will be going, like I kind of teased it a little bit. When the shows come back out in September, I think American Dad's season wraps in the fall. And then I know Bob's and Family Guy start back up in the fall. We're going to be doing more releases each month. So there might be an exclusive pin or an exclusive t-shirt or something to go with each show every month or so. And they'll also be addressing holidays. So like I know Bob's always has a big Thanksgiving episode, so we'll do that. We don't want to do a subscription box because maybe you don't like that one. Like maybe I don't like the Thanksgiving episodes. I don't want to have to buy the t-shirt and the pin. And like, oh, he sent me a stuffed turkey. What the hell am I going to do with that for $24? So we kind of want to do it a little different because it's like, no, if you don't like this month, don't buy it. Like, that's fine. And if because some people like Family Guy, some people like Bob, some people like both, like you can pick and choose. Like, hey, this month it's a t-shirt and a pin. I don't really wear the t-shirts. I just want the pin. Okay, then just buy the pin. Like we're a member of a lot of subscription boxes and stuff, and we know what annoys us with them, so we're not doing it. So I think it's more one of those things. Like we'll probably do it as a pre-order, and like the month before. So in like the first 2 weeks of October, you'll probably see Thanksgiving Day stuff from us, and then we'll do it as a 2-week release. When it's done, and then it all ships, and you'll have it 1st of November. And then you're on to the next thing. And then we're doing Christmas. So Christmas will be the first 2 weeks in November, and then you have it December 1st. Versus like a Christmas box kind of a thing.
Right.
But if we do it, we might do it just for like a holiday, or if there's like a special episode coming out, we might do a mystery box like that. But in terms of like a monthly subscription, probably not. People get burned out on them, and they get kind of expensive. So.
Yeah, they do kind of get pricey, and sometimes, like you said, you don't get what you want.
Yeah.
But my question for you is, other than, I know you mentioned the people. I mean, definitely people. Other than crowning Carrie the queen of SDCC, which she very rightly deserves, by the way, what is the one thing that encapsulates what it is to be at Comic-Con for you?
For us, so preview night is when it hits me, and this is like one of those emotional things. Like, it's chaos, and I'm screaming, and somebody dumped a Slurpee in our register, and we're missing one piece for the booth that leaves a giant hole in it. We're trying to build it, and the fire marshal's screaming at us, and marketing's dropping stuff off, and like the one like moment is when they announce the floor's open, preview night. Like, I get choked up about that because that's it.
Yep.
Like for us, I think a lot of vendors and like marketing departments are like, oh shit, we got to go to Comic-Con. The way we see it is we get to go to Comic-Con. Like there's a 10-year wait list to be a vendor here. And like, if you're lucky, you get a 10 by 10 inline booth that maybe you sell $200 at your first year and you spent $2,000 on rooms for. We get to be part of the show. Like, we're a big deal. Like, we have a huge footprint, and we have a huge fan base, and there's a lot of people that love what we do. And like the fact that we make things that people love and cherish and want to give us money for and make us cookies for, that it's pretty cool to get to be part of pop culture history like that. And that's kind of what Comic-Con is. Like, it's not an ego thing. It's just the hair on the back of your neck stands up when it's like, all right, here we go. It's a show. You guys are on stage now for the next 5 days. You're going to see 5,000 to 10,000 fans. Go. Be on. They want to hug you. They want to buy stuff. They want to have fun. Like, they like what you made. They like that you have a Ken pin. They like that John Roberts is coming by with a giant Voltron. They like that Kristen Shaw's just hanging out. Like, we get to give other people the experience we always want to have. And that's kind of more important to us than like any exclusive we can get or anything like that. Like, I think that's what Comic-Con is we get to make other people's Comic-Con experience what we'd want ours to be. And I think that's I think what makes it iconically Comic-Con for me, is that we're in a position to make everybody else's con better. And that's kind of what I miss. And that's kind of what that moment is for me. I'm kind of rambling, but you can kind of put together what I'm getting at.
Like all that hard work you put in for 360 days finally pays off in those 5 days.
Yeah, like and you see like the little kids in cosplay and the parents, and they're like, "Hey, we made cupcakes with your face on them," and you're like, "Oh my god, why?" Like, thank you, but like, anybody want these? Like, we still eat them, but it's kind of validation for what we do, like of our goofy ideas. And it's our whole staff, like everybody who works the con for us, and like Carver, who does all of our art, is amazing. Carver did the burger of the day this year, the social distancing shirt, all the art. Our whole crew gets it because we're fans. And like, how's this doing? Like, everybody's asking, like, how's the SoCal distancing burger doing? And I'm like, it might be our #1 seller, like for all of them so far. That's awesome, because we want fans to have that. Like, it's cool knowing that something you worked on or something that you came up with is going to 500 to 1,000 people. Like, they have that in the mail that's tangible, that's theirs, that they're wearing on their lanyard, and they want to show you. Like, that's the weirdest thing at con is like everybody comes up and like, hey, I'm wearing this shirt. You made it. Like, we did make that. I'm like, and she drew it. They're like, that's awesome. And that's con. Like, people like to share their fandom, and that's a pretty cool thing.
We love what you guys do so much. Unfortunately, we are out of time. But why don't you tell everyone where they can find Toddland on social, and of course where they can buy the exclusives before they go out on Sunday at, is it midnight?
I mean, sure. We're saying Sunday night, so like Sunday midnight should be when it comes down, but like it'll probably be Monday morning when we get into the office, because I'm not going to the office. So, but yeah, it'll probably be then, and then we'll get the influx of emails for 4 days being like, "Oh, I didn't know." You had a week, and we've been really annoying about it, so everybody knows. But everything's available on Toddland.com, and then it's there's a Bob's Burger section, a Family Guy section, and an American Dad section. It'll all be up until tomorrow night, so Sunday night. And then on social, I think we're Toddland Store on everything for Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. We don't do Twitch. We don't do Snapchat. We don't do Uber. We don't do OnlyFans. Maybe. But yeah, I think that's everything. But yeah, hop on Toddland.com. You can always get a hold of us online. We're pretty easy to find. And then it all comes down Sunday night. And then I think Monday morning we're putting up masks, because we sold out of the first round, but they're not character based. And then all of Pride should be up August 1st, because we moved it from June. So we're gonna be busy till the end of the year.
That's good. That's good. That's what we like to hear. All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us, Todd, especially for taking the effort to go down to San Diego.
Better than my house.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well,
awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye. We are going to hang on for just 1 more minute and bring everyone from our team, or not everyone, but most people from our team back on, including there's Aaron again and Kim. Hey, Aaron.
Hello.
And Robert's back.
Robert.
Awesome. Now we just someone let Kim know she's on now. Let me let her know. All right, so we wanted to bring everyone back who helped, and anyone who wanted to come in from the team, mainly because we just wanted to thank everyone, not only all of you who are watching and who listen to this on the podcast, on wherever you happen to listen to the podcast, but everyone on our team who makes sure that all of this information and everything makes it out to you so you can have the best Comic-Con possible. That's basically it. I just wanted to thank everyone. So thank you.
Yeah, seriously, guys, like we have a fantastic team. It is by no means one person. All of these people do an incredible job helping to get the news out to you. So give them a round of applause.
Well, thank you, guys. We couldn't do it without you. We all know. Think of Carrie as the queen bee. I'm
Queen of Comic-Con.
It is a group effort. We do this together. So I know that, again, that this has been like such a weird year, but for everybody watching, I really and truly hope that you have had a fantastic Comic-Con at Home Week. I feel like it's been so much fun, like getting just a tiny bit of normalcy with buying stuff, exclusives, and spending too much money on art and pens, and getting to watch the panels. Like, it's just been fun.
It has been fun, and everybody's been. I feel like everybody's been like extra active on social media and sharing pictures and sharing memories, and it's. I feel like it's the best case scenario for what could have happened.
I agree.
Yeah, and Aaron, you even mentioned it the other day that it feels like the first Comic-Con where we're all actually kind of hanging out and talking to each other more, rather than, Carrie's going off to a panel, I'm going off to the exhibit hall, and whoever's going to an offsite, we're not all just going our separate ways after Wednesday night dinner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So now we're all just kind of hanging out, and we're having our own con, and I'm having a blast.
So I wanted to congratulate you guys on this marathon session. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. It's amazing guests that you have had on. I've been watching, and just insight and this just lovely kind of happy Comic-Con feeling that you've brought. I'm adding, Todd and I had the same idea to come down to the gas lamp for this. So it was nice to see him here. And then I just ran into Parks and Cons doing their thing.
There's Parks and Cons back
Sean, hi.
They're saying hi.
That's amazing.
I just yelled at them as I was about to come on here. So, we're all together. It's so nice.
Love it. I love it.
Love seeing you guys.
I miss you guys. I know. I miss all of you so much.
All right, so I'm gonna direct each person. So first off, we see them in the background, Sean and Carmel of Parks and Cons. If you want to check them out, they're Parks and Cons online everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, their website, parksandcons.com. So check them out. They've been down in San Diego for a few days now, giving us a nice virtual look at everything that's happening, and also sharing a lot of memories. And so check out their feed if you want to.
And they're doing a bunch of prize drops right now, right, guys?
And prize drops, virtual prize drops.
Yes.
On and off.
Kim, why don't you go ahead and share all of your information?
Whoops, sorry, am I still here? I am Outside Comic-Con on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you.
And Robert.
Legion of Sand on Twitter and Instagram, and I've got a giveaway going on right now, so check that out, please do.
All right, and Aaron.
I'm Bavarian Aaron on Instagram and Twitter.
And Andy.
I am SDCC Wacky Wags on the gram and on the Twitter. How about you, Carrie? Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon, and James was probably going to do this, but I'm going to mention you can also find Lisa, who is our genius researcher on Twitter at SDCC GOT Girl, and you can find Kara, who is our other researcher on Twitter at Kara, Kara Dupree 93 on Twitter. James, where can we find you on Twitter?
I'm everywhere at Dan Regal, and you can also check out geekshopphoto.com for social media and other links for my wife and I, Beth. And hello to Beth, and thank you, because she will be the one putting together and editing this massive show. If any of the audio is off, she's going to have to do every single thing individually, and it's going to be a lot of work. So thank you so much in advance if that's what you have to do.
And I apologize in advance if that's necessary.
No, it's fine. We'll get it done and into the podcast space for everyone to listen to. So thank you all for being on the show. And I just wanted to say to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for being here, for letting us come in and talk to you and show things to you and bring everything to you. This is actually, I think, the official wrap up of our SDConCast season. We've been talking. We might actually do a wrap up of the con itself next week, possibly, Carrie, right?
We might just do it on Patreon. Stay tuned.
We might be like,
it's a gap year.
We'll just link everything on Twitter. It's been a year. Let me tell you, it's been different. But we're coming back. We'll be here all throughout until next year when hopefully we're all in San Diego, where Todd and Kim and Sean all were just standing and basically in the madness again in 360 days. I think that's it. In closing, everyone stay safe, have some fun, and we'll see you when we see you.
Can't wait to see you again.
Oh, and
everybody
go.
We did it.
Good job, everybody. That was pretty incredible.
Are we still recording?
You know, whatever. It'll go for a few more seconds.